You know, here. What's up? I was thinking about something.
What are we thinking about, bro?
I was thinking about what's going on in the earth, right?
What's happening in our minds?
Yeah, and I wondered, why does it matter?
We're about to find out.
Holy shit. Ready? Just kidding. Welcome to Earth, Mind, and Matter. We said, fuck it, let's talk about albums. We said, let's talk about some movies and some fucking comics. This week in the universe, across the internet.
So what's up, Javi?
What's going on, Frankie? I just noticed that your shirt says Pride on it.
Yo, it's a J. Cole shirt, and your shirt's rainbow.
Yeah, I like this synergy going on right now.
That's God saying he'll support the LGBTQs. The B in LGBTQ stands for burger.
Yes.
Yeah, you know that?
I mean, I learned. I was today years old when I found that out.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. Lettuce, something with G, burger, tomatoes.
Something I've always been curious about, though, is that
cucumbers.
Okay. Something I've been curious about, though, is that we have the LGBTQ plus community.
Okay.
But what about the LGBTQ negative community?
Ooh,
is that a thing?
I would have said minus.
Or you know what I'm saying? Wow.
I guess those are for the pessimistic, gays and les and trans and all that stuff,
Like they're like the dark side.
Yeah, like when somebody's like, "Hey, what a nice day," they're like, "Yeah, it could be better." Sha.
They're always half glass empty.
Half glass empty. They don't they just smash the glass. You feel me?
They don't want that glass.
That's what I'm saying.
They don't want the water. They want to dehydrate.
That's what I'm saying.
They want to suffer.
They want to suffer. I
wonder if they're into that though.
You think? Nah, I don't know, but I guess we're supporting those people.
Yeah, we should upload a rainbow version of our logo.
We should paint our face rainbow.
That'd be pretty dope.
Well, we could do what every company does. Become gay and the whatever, then we become black in February. Then we're Latino and whatever the month Latino thing is. Well,
damn, it's sad that we don't know the
yeah.
Latino month and we're fucking Latino.
Yeah, every month is Latino month. And Black month and gay month and Asian and all that stuff, because we're humans at the end there,
Nah. Get out of here with that kumbaya shit.
So, what are we doing today, Javi?
We're on the earth.
This is what's in our mind.
And this is why it matters.
This is Earth, Mind, and Matter.
Welcome back to the show, folks.
Welcome back. This is episode, 20 or some shit?
Episode 20.
Brought to you by Nesquik.
Brought to you by Nesquik, Abstergo.
And whatever that jam company is that makes jam. Smuckers. Schmuckers or Smuckers? Both.
Yeah.
Bought through by all those three. But if you're listening and you're from those companies, not really, please sponsor us.
and if this is your first episode, let me just give you the rundown on what happens here. So we come in on usually like at the end of the week, and we put our episodes out on Mondays. If you're listening to this on a Monday, happy Monday. Happy Monday. Happy beginning of the week.
Happy Human Day.
I said stop with the kumbaya shit, man. But shit happens and whatever, and we said,
yeah, man,
let's take Memorial Day off.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did.
We took Memorial Day off because we're patriots,
commemorating memory.
And there's nothing more important than the Memorial Day.
Yeah, man. Except a lot of stocks. Stocks.
Stop. Don't ruin the moment. Don't ruin the moment.
Memorial Day is funny. I don't know. You serve your whole life, you get one day. That's cool. I saw a bunch of flags in the neighborhood, right? Greenpoint is basically where I'm around. And I had just got back from Utah, so I'm walking around and stuff. And I see this huge flag, and I see these plants covered in flags. That's the American flag, of course, right? I saw the American flag. I'm like, that'd be nicer if it was the Mexican flag. But I was like, what are all these flags doing here? What the fuck is happening? And then it was like, oh, it's Memorial Day, But I bet you those flags aren't there no more.
Probably
Which
not.
Is fucked up. It's fucking, those flags should be there all the time. It looked badass, though.
You know what I did on Memorial Day? It was pretty funny.
You know what I did on Memorial Day?
What'd you do Memorial Day?
I forgot.
Nice.
What'd you do on Memorial Day?
I only remember this happening because it was so out of nowhere. But I woke up that day and I was like, it's gonna be a nice day. Like the weather and stuff. I was like, it's pretty nice out today.
All right.
And I was like working on my internship stuff and whatever. And I was like, today would be a good day to trip on some acid.
Okay, nice.
And I was like, I don't have the money to pick up acid.
Damn.
And so then my brother, his friend, came over. And his friend's big brother came over as well, who I also know.
Okay.
And like when he got over here, he saw me working my internship stuff, and he was like, "Oh, you know, Javi, like if you need Adderall, I got you."
Okay.
And I was like, "Oh, no, I'm all good." But honestly, like the only thing I've been thinking about, like in terms of drugs, is like it'd be so great to trip on some acid. And he just stops and he goes, "I got some acid
and Adderall."
And I was like, "Oh shit!" And so I took a moment. I was like, "Okay, how much can you sell like the acid for?" And he was like, "I'll just give it to you for free." And I was like, "What a guy!
Yo, dead ass.
What a guy!"
Memorial Day special.
Yeah,
he must be a patriot.
So I I think so too. I think he was actually wearing an American flag. Like,
he saluted you and he gave you the acid. He's like, "Here you go, soldier."
I'm so serious. I think he was wearing like a red and blue like polo or something. That's crazy.
He had one of those rifles, and before he gave it to you, he was like, "Hut."
Oh man, but
maybe he was tripping on acid. He thought he was a soldier.
Maybe.
So I never done acid, right? I've only done shrooms. So how would you say it would be like if you were like tripping on 2 tabs and then you watched like a war movie, like a very intense war movie with like D-Day on it and shit?
Oh, that'd be a little scary.
It'd be a little scary, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever watched the movie 1917.
Yes.
That's a fucking great movie.
Yeah.
I remember when the movie was out. You know who directed it?
Sam something.
There, Sam. Let's say Sam Cooke, but it's not. Definitely not Sam Cooke. It's a singer. When that movie came out, there was so much hype around it, and I was just like, "Yo, this movie trash. It looks so fucking boring. It looks like there's no action, whatever." And then I watched it, and I was like, "Bro, this is a great fucking film." Like that.
Yeah.
I mean, later in the podcast, I want to do that film for sure. But damn, bro, Sam Mendes.
Oh, I think it is
Sam Mendes, right? That's a good movie. So I imagine like watching that movie, which is not as actiony, but I know there's one movie where in the beginning it starts off with D-Day.
Yeah, that's getting shot. I think that's a Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah,
isn't
bro.
it?
That's a crazy movie.
Yeah, no, all I did was just I watched funny videos. I watched funny videos, laughed my ass off. I played VR.
Nice. That shit must be crazy, man.
I beat Super Hot VR,
nice.
Which was pretty trippy.
What is Super Hot VR?
Super Hot, it's a game that came out years ago.
Is that like the like you shoot
slow
slowly?
Motion game?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so I beat that in VR. And then I started playing this other game called Boneworks. And I could only play it for about 30 minutes because it was too immersive for me. Because it like this game is sort of like the equivalent of like what sort of Half-Life and Gmod was to the early PC days, where Boneworks is just like a really physics-based game, and the graphics are really nice and things like that
for VR, right? Like for like an early technology and stuff.
Yeah, so it's sort of like a sandbox in that way, and I found myself just struggling to. I found myself becoming too self-conscious of my surroundings, and I got too afraid that I was gonna break something,
like in the house and stuff.
Yeah, I was like, dude, because I was just moving around everywhere.
I imagine those things where you like you know those toys where you go zzz, zzz, and they just kind of free range, like, zzz, and they bump into the wall and they're just like. I don't know if you can understand what I'm saying audio-wise, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I was just moving around everywhere, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna break one of my statues. I'm gonna break a monitor or a TV or something. And there was a moment where I was shooting like 2 enemies in front of me, and I knew there was an enemy to my left, and I was like, okay, let me just get these guys first. I shoot him, and it takes me a minute because I'm fucking awful. And fucking by the time I turn to my left, the guy is like right in my face.
You're like, oh!
And I screamed. I was like, ah! And I was like, and I just started whacking him with my gun. I was like, get away from me!
Throw the headset at him, bro. Get out of it! Get out of my eyes! That's pretty funny.
I was like, no, I gotta call it here. I'm getting way too into it. I'm gonna break something.
Yeah. So then you just prayed afterwards.
I did some praying afterwards, watched some more funny videos, and then I went on the most beautiful walk that I've had in so long.
That sounds pretty nice, actually. And the weather's getting better over here. It's no longer shit.
I took Link. We walked down to Gantry by the water, and right at sunset, where everyone is out and it's lively and everything, and I'm just like listening to music, and I'm just creating vignettes in my head of like different people and stuff. I'm like,
that'd be funny if you have your earphones and there's just crying behind you. Get on the ground! Get on the ground! I'll be just like, nah, This is nice. He's
resisting.
Oh, no. Nigga's like, Arf. And you're like, yeah, that's right, Arf.
That's what I was thinking, Link.
He's like, I know. The deepest, most majestic voice. And then he pulls out some more acid. He's like, hey, take some more acid.
And I'm like, Link, where'd you get that from? He's like, shh.
Puts a paw on your lips. Don't say more.
Just take.
It's just dog shit. There's a UFC fighter called Israel Adesanya, right?
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure it was shrooms that he talked about, but it could be acid. But he was tripping, and he tells this really good story that I'll sum up. You could look it up on YouTube, or whatever. But he says that he goes hiking, right? Because he's a fit person, he has to stay fit. Mm-hmm. He goes hiking on this beautiful mountain, and when he's in the at an edge or really high point, he's staring off into the sunset, which is beautiful. I think he says purple or like different colors, you know? Okay. It's the blessed moment to have if you're tripping. And then a dog comes up to him. I think it was a black dog, right? A black Labrador or something. And at first the owners were a little worried, but he was like, no, come through. And so they just both sat together watching the sunset, like out of coincidence and stuff. And I forget what his remarks were towards it, but I thought it was a really cool thing because it's one of those things where tripping or not, it could just be your mind, but you're like, everything led up to this moment in the universe, you know? And like, I be thinking like that shit sometimes too, but it could just be a dog just chilling with you, you know? You got a chicken in your, pocket or some shit. But
sometimes I wish I had Jake from Adventure Time in my pocket.
Just chilling, right? Like, hey. I actually want to start watching Adventure Time because I saw some guy like on the YouTube Reels, right? Or like the little short videos. There's a sandwich that he makes that's like a stacked sandwich, and it has like a whole bunch of ridiculous meats and then like the tears of some like animal or like some majestic creature, and some guy recreated it. But that show is ridiculously creative, man.
Yeah,
it's so ridiculously creative, and respect to the makers, those high motherfuckers, because they had to.
Oh
be,
yeah,
bro.
they had to be tripping like on all sorts of drugs.
Like, there's no way, man. That shit is ridiculous. My last question, not really a question, before we get to the stories. Why was Half-Life such a good game? Because I played it.
Okay.
And I thought it was pretty good, right? But there's like two, or is it like just one, or just one only?
There's two, and then there's two DLCs to the second one, which are like a canon to the main story, and then there's a VR one.
Okay, because I played it and I thought it was good, but you say physics was a big part of it, right? So was it because of the physics engine that it made it so like big in video games?
Well, the first one was sort of considered like a milestone for PC gaming because of its graphics and its story. It was kind of one of the first games to really have that good of a story with a graphics that good.
And that's when you have Halo later, right? Or things like that in that area, or Portal.
Yeah. Well, Portal came out way later.
Portal's a good ass game.
Yeah. But the big deal of Half-Life 2 was they just made the graphics even better, and the physics were just insane. Like to the point that Gmod is still played today by millions of people for the physics. Like, it's pretty incredible, honestly.
Nice. Now I played it, and for me, it was like, this is a cool game. But I was like, what's the hype? I guess because I already been playing games that were beyond that type of physics engine and stuff like that. But on the graver news, the Gerber baby died.
The Gerber baby died? Oh my God.
Yeah, bro. She was 95 years old. Excuse me, I had to burp like crazy. I almost died. She was 95 years old, and her name was Anna Turner Cook.
Damn.
Yeah, bro, she was a baby. And for those who don't know who the Gerber baby is, grow up.
Or grow down.
I guess. Or eat baby food.
Baby food is good.
Legit, man. Peas and chicken.
Ooh.
Nah, bananas or some shit is delicious. But yeah, she died. I don't know. I got a couple of random shit before we start the episode. I said the facts, right?
Okay.
Just because I've been watching a whole bunch of stuff because I had nothing to do. Apparently, Elvis Presley died on the toilet.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I had no idea, bro. You know?
Yeah. Like, do you remember not trailer, the music video to Eminem's or Slim Shady's?
Okay. I was listening to Eminem this morning, which is crazy you bring him up. But continue.
Yeah, the music video to what's the name of the song?
I'm Slim Shady.
Yeah, there's like a part in the trailer, like, cause since in that song he refers to Elvis.
Yeah, he dresses up as Elvis.
He dresses up as Elvis sitting on the toilet.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. I won't say what show, but I was watching a show that like represented that, and I was like, what the fuck? And then somebody was like, Elvis died on the toilet, and I was like, really? Okay, maybe you might know this too. Edgar Allan Poe is from the Bronx.
I think I knew that.
He did Opium and he married his cousin.
Yes, I knew those things.
I know these shits, bro. I was like, what the fuck?
I took one poetry class one semester, and
AKA Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
And Robert Frost, is that another guy?
Robert Frost is another guy.
Gotcha. The snow and death and all that stuff and everything. That pussy. No, I'm kidding. Poetry is pretty dope. I forgot the term, but it's when you make poetry or literature about yourself. It's like something with the E. It's you know a lady who killed herself with the oven?
Yes.
Like she stuck her head in the oven. Her name starts with the A. I should know this before I talk about it. But people like her and other poets, they used to write about themselves. And back then I was like, what the fuck you doing, man? Nobody cares about your feelings. And then they'll kill themselves. They'll be like, maybe we should care about their feelings. And okay, my last thing though, which is, again, these are just quick things. So Elon Musk tweeted about the Roe versus Wade leak. Right.
Okay.
And he said, he said nothing much about the topic of Roe versus Wade and abortion or whatever you think about it. But he said, it's interesting how the Roe versus Wade thing leaked, but the Epstein pedophile list hasn't. You know, and why is that? And who's leaking these documents? That's why I think personally it was on purpose, the Roe versus Wade thing, to kind of brace that, of course, a big attention that's going to come towards that decision. If it would have come out, you know? So what do you think about that?
So remind me what the Epstein pedophile list.
So Epstein's island, right? Of pedophilia happening. You remember that whole situation? Jeffrey Epstein?
What? It sounds so familiar.
Oh, this is gonna be a very interesting episode because I got a lot to talk about this today. Well, basically Jeffrey Epstein was a very famous, like, just millionaire guy, right? And he was caught like on several sex charges and all that stuff. Ghislaine Maxwell and all that thing was somebody that like helped like bring girls to him and stuff like that.
Okay.
So to sum it up, he basically had an island, and then the island was a bunch of rich people that went. Some of them including Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, and names like that have been to that island. And pretty much they would have little girls, like young girls, massaging them. You weren't allowed to bring cell phones as a staff. Like, there were very weird rules. This is crazy. I thought you would know. It's a whole big story. And imagine that, like a pedophile island. And there's a lot of celebrities that were on that list that the FBI, whoever's in charge of that, isn't releasing. And then he goes to court, and he's about to serve his day in court, and he's in a jail. Mind you, he's on suicide watch. It just so happens that when he's in his cell, the cameras die. And the two guards that are watching him just go away for some reason. And then he dies by hanging himself.
The fuck?
But when the autopsy was put out, they clearly said that he was strangled to death. You know, like, I don't know anything about being an person, whatever, autopsier. But they indicated that the bruises on his neck didn't come from hanging himself; it came from strangling. So either he was murdered, or this or that, because of the people have conspiracies because of the names in the list, so he wouldn't testify. And then to end it off, the girl he was dating, who helped bring girls to him, to Epstein, her name is Ghislaine Maxwell. Who has pictures, like, him and Ghislaine have pictures with Donald Trump. And she went to court, and I think it's over now. I think she's found guilty and stuff like that. But that's the whole thing that happened. That was a huge thing in the news. I'm about to start a podcast. Or mine in pedophilia. Just kidding. Damn. But essentially, what Elon Musk is saying is that there's this crazy list of pedophiles in the industry of Hollywood and politics. Because Bill Clinton, there was a painting of Bill Clinton in a blue dress in the island.
Okay.
Yeah, like laying down all sexy, like Titanic type shit.
Yeah.
It's interesting stuff, man.
So, like, what? Just comparing that, just kind of like...
Oh, like why? How is it that this Roe versus Wade decision is leaked, but not things like this pedophilia list, or I guess you could say most things that are discreet in terms of the government or the people?
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was very interesting, because you could say, why isn't everything just released to the public? But that's something that I would leak if I was able to, if I was somebody, because this guy from Britain or whatever, the guy, I don't know why people care about them so much, but it's the queen, and then it's the prince, and then the other lady, right?
Oh, like the royal family?
Yeah, like even he was supposedly on that list, or like involved in that situation, has to testify. So I don't know. Elon Musk is basically saying, like, where's the people we need to release that stuff so we can see who's the assholes in the industry of politics and everything in Hollywood. I don't know.
I don't know. I just feel like definitely sort of the Epstein list is just would create more of a mess. And so that's why it hasn't been leaked.
True, but still, I mean, it's better to find out who's doing the dirty than like just let it be. Because these are people like making like laws and shit.
I mean, I just mean like maybe they have it like more secure, like that stuff because of like how messy it could be if it gets out.
So they're like, fuck babies, but it's okay to fuck babies.
It's like, you know, they're kind of like in terms of levels of security, it's like the Roe versus Wade thing had like a level 1 security, and someone was able to hack that. Maybe they got the Epstein list on a higher level security, something.
Probably. Yeah, but well, you know, that's essentially my little gist of random shit that I wrote down before the topic. I'm dying.
Yo, get your shit together.
I coughed like 7 times. This water ain't helping for shit. Coughing brought to you by coronavirus.
I thought we were brought to you by Nesquik.
And Nesquik.
God.
And Schmuckers and Nike.
Yes.
And Four Loko.
Oh, no. Scratch that last one.
No Four Loko?
Nah.
I'll let them know. All right, well, going on from that topic, cough. No, I'm just kidding. I have 3 topics that I want to talk about.
Okay.
And they're pretty intense. So, they have a lot to do with pedophilia, straight up off the bat.
Oof.
Yeah, and it's obviously that's a very serious situation. Disregard my fuck babies joke just earlier because we're getting serious now. But not really. It could be free whenever we want. It's free. America. We're going to talk about a person named Josh Duggar.
Josh Duggar.
Yeah, I was going to show you a video before this, but I'll show you after. And then his situation going to jail because of pedophilia. And we'll see why in a bit. Then we're going to talk about a person named Larry Nassar or Nassar. I don't know if you've heard of this guy.
No.
He's an Olympic gymnast doctor for Team USA and all that. Oh, man, get ready. Same situation, different circumstances. Very crazy.
Okay.
Very crazy. And then we're going to talk about, on a lighter note, murder. No, I'm kidding. We're going to talk about manga sales, however you say that. And like, you know, comic book sales essentially in Japan and who's dominating that area, because the first 2 topics are going to be pretty long, but I'm going to get into this now. All right. So Josh Duggar comes from a family that was on TV. And the name of the TV show was 19 Kids and Counting. When I was younger, I used to watch the show with my sister, right? It was on TLC. Channel 52. That's what I remember from the little black box type shit. And we would always watch it. And I always thought they were Amish because they're all white people. They live in like this deserted area for like, it looked like they were Amish, but they probably lived in like North Carolina or some shit in the South, mid-states. And for me, like what I realized is that they just live a normal mid-state life. But they were also on network television. So how could you live a normal ass life if you're on TV? So when I counted when I counted the family members, I don't know if this includes like one of the son's wives, but I counted 21. So who knows? Maybe they had more kids and stuff like that, right?
I mean, I guess that's the and counting part.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, absolutely right. They planned ahead. So factually, they have 21 members. They're ultra conservative. So, you know, and now the son, he might be the oldest of the family. The mom and dad, their name is Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar. So they were clapping cheeks OD because man, kids, you know. And now they were on TV for a while, and recently, Josh Duggar got indicted for possessing child pornography. And in the past, he's done some crazy shit in the past, but just hold on to that thought that he got indicted for child pornography. Before this, he was married to his wife, or he still is, Anna, right? And he cheated on his wife. And the interesting thing is, there's a site called Ashley Madison. And Ashley Madison had this big news break where it's basically an affair website. So like
an affair website?
Yeah, that's the way they label themselves. Like you go on it and you basically cheat. You know, you go find other people to be with and this and that. And I don't know why anybody would trust an internet site with that information.
Is that like the OG like Tinder?
I guess, you know. That makes a lot of sense. But then somebody hacked that shit and a bunch of names came out. Like a whole shitload of names. And again, like dumbasses. You know what I mean? Just is very interesting. But the way it's described, it's Ashley Madison is an infidelity website that exposed those cheating on their partners. And so when the news broke out, mind you, he's a TV celebrity, so it was big news. The parents said, "When we learned of this late last night, our hearts were broken. As we continue to place our trust in God, we ask for your prayers for Josh, Anna, and our grandchildren and our entire family." Right? And then Josh Duggar, the main culprit we're talking about right now, he says about the whole cheating scandal, he says, "I have been the biggest hypocrite ever. While espousing faith and family values, I have secretly over the last several years been viewing pornography on the internet." So there's like, okay, like what are you saying? You know, like, are you cheating like with the person physically, or are you just watching pornography? Like, what are you doing exactly? Mm-hmm. Now, with his wife, he has 4 kids. And now we're going to get into the child pornography part. He's been sentenced to 12 plus years in prison on child pornography charges. His defense asked for 5 years, right? And he was sentenced this December. Now, this is where it gets really real. He had about 600 images and videos that showed footage of prepubescent girls being raped, whipped, threatened with knives, and held naked in a dog cage.
It's gross.
Yeah, it's like crazy. And another video showed the rape and torture of a toddler. Footage so terrible, I'm quoting the article, that a Homeland Security investigation agent said it was among the most horrific things he had been forced to watch in his career. Right? And one of the reporters writes, or somebody named Roberts, he says, "Distressingly, the market for child pornography has continued to grow and to become more depraved. In recent years," Robert wrote, the depravity, that's how you say it?
Depravity,
is evident here. And now, the thing is that like it just gets worse, because in the past, Josh Duggar, he molested 5 young girls, including his 4 younger sisters, around 2002, when he was a teenager. Some of that abuse happened when the girls were sleeping, and I get chills just saying that shit, because like I found this story, and the reason I did it is because, again, I used to watch the show when I was younger. So like, other than that, he's just a creep and a piece of shit, you know. Like 12 years seems too little for this motherfucker, you know. But just having seen him on TV, and we can discuss later, like, you know, what being on TV does to a person, or pressures or whatever. But this is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah,
this is like, it's sad and gross, and you know, maybe we put a little warning before it, but it's pretty explicit. He received child porn on the dark web, right? And ultimately, he may go to federal prison, or he will go to federal prison. That's either in Seagoville, Texas. Seagoville, Texas has a sex offender treatment program. Or he'll go to Texarkana, who I don't know if they have that program.
A sex offender treatment program?
I'm assuming it's something that really pinpoints people who are pedophiles, you know? Not to laugh at the situation, but if you're listening, Javi's like, he just gave me the "get the fuck out of here" face.
I cross my arms and stuff and everything, because like
clenching his Bible. We don't pray, by the way. We're fucking around with this shit. Only these motherfucking doggers pray, and they're the ones that are the pedophiles.
I just, you know, like, what does that even mean? A treatment program? Like,
you're right, and
that's so dumb. Like, no, you. Like, what?
Yeah, man. I agree with you, but I also was having a conversation this morning with Beatrice, right? And I was saying,
who's that?
Just, you know, some stranger danger. And we were talking about the Uvalde shooter, right? Mm-hmm. And how, and listen to me, not you, Javi, I know you listen to me, but the people, you know, don't click off or nothing, but like, I wish he didn't die in the moment, right? And the reason I say that is because, as terrible and disgusting, and give me all the adjectives you want about how a person like that is, I think when you consider what's important in this situation is to find out why a person like that does something, you know? And the truth is, and how the FBI functions, is that when people commit those crimes and you are able to pick their mind and dig into their brain, of course, never give them freedom again, but it can hopefully help prevent what happens in the future in these situations, you know? Like, we briefly discussed it, we discussed it, but there's just constant information coming out about this person, you know? Mm-hmm. So sometimes I feel that, like, when those people die, like, they ultimately just seal the deal with the whole thing. Because there's no bringing those kids back, and nobody cares if that guy comes back, you know? But I think picking a brain of a terrible person to do that is important. You know, what do you think about that?
I mean, you know, as for someone who doesn't even really, like, feel confident in the death penalty or anything like that, like, you know, similar to you, I'm not gonna say I wish he survived or anything, but I think I've always just kind of been in the camp that I think it's better to rot in prison anyways. Because when you're dead, you can't pay for your crimes anymore.
Yeah, you can't.
So it's like
you get the easy way out. Is the truth, you know, like in a way.
Yeah, because I don't know, because when you think about like the people who do these type of things that know that they're gonna die at the end, like the Buffalo shooter who was ready to shoot himself until the police talked him out of it.
Yeah, and then you think about that because the Dark Knight shooter, the Aurora shooter, he was planning to kill himself, and I remember we discussed it, and the psychologist that discussed it, you know, it's definitely an educated guess, but he said if somebody like that is prepared to kill themselves, why did he dress up in so much armor? Why did he have a plan? Why did he do this and this and this and that? And it's that people that commit those crimes, as inhumane as we may see them, may also be people that are, you know, they need help, you know? Yeah. And it's hard to say that because, you know, he's put in such a terrible light, but not them particularly, but to help the people in the future. When I was looking up those articles and stuff, there's a person who was going to shoot up a school or something. And he seemed kind of drugged the fuck out, to be honest, when he spoke on the TV. Okay. But he kind of said, he was like, I was about to ruin my life. And before that happened, I was caught, I was rehabilitated, and I was brought back into society. And to anybody that's considering doing that, and for real, anybody that's considering doing that, I you know, just add on my, like, yes. He just says don't, because you ruin your life. And he's doing things now that, you know, he's happier that he's not in a prison, you know, or dead. Mm-hmm. But again, he seems super drugged out. Not to diminish his you know, his liberty from doing that.
Take it as you will.
Exactly. So anyway, back to the Josh Duggar guy. So he's gonna either go to both of these federal prisons. He has to pay $50,000 and more in fines, and
50,000 and counting.
And counting. Oh, like that. It threw me off completely. That's dope. Let's tap it up.
Let's give it up for that one.
That's good right there. He has 20 years supervised after leaving prison. He's 34 years old right now. So after he'll be 46 or 50. Okay. Depending on what else. I mean, again, 12 years is too little for what the fuck he's doing, you know? Yeah. And he must register as a sex offender. As surprising as it may sound. Just kidding. It's definitely right.
Imagine. God.
Now, this is interesting because it kind of veers into the next story, but I won't continue that fast. But so technically he had about or less than 600 images of child pornography, right? Now, the judge says 600 images is significantly less than the average amount usually found, which is 4,000 apparently. So
what the fuck?
Yeah, man, it gets pretty intense. And I remember, I've only seen this on Vice, I think so, but there's a group of people, including that Homeland Security person, that saw this footage, which is sad because even the judge had to see this. I never thought judges had to see the evidence, but of course they do. Yeah. And that sucks for them, man. But how they either, you know, become mentally ill because of watching this, or they may even, how can I say, like become pedophiles themselves. Huh. You know what I'm trying to say? But, you know, that's a whole different topic. Now, the judge said these 600 were some of the worst he's ever seen and that he can't get the images out of his head. Now, the Josh Duggar guy, and the reason I keep repeating his name is because fuck that guy. You should know how shitty this guy is and his name should be tarnished, you know?
Sometimes I go back and forth with that because I'm like, is it better to tarnish their name or is it better to just forget about them?
I agree in situations like the shooter. Like, I like how everybody calls him the Uvalde shooter. You know, people do that stuff because people want that because of fame. Like James Holmes, the Aurora shooter, right? Mm-hmm. And I think before they would say his name all the time. But I think now when you watch like coverage of the news, they're like, we won't say his name, we won't show his face. And even when I look it up, I don't see any of his like visible pictures of him. I don't even know his name, to be honest with you. I don't know if you remember his name. No. Fuck that guy. What else? So Josh Duggar was extremely careful hiding his pedophilia. But he shared the pictures on the dark web with others. So, and he also has a past of physically abusing children. Youngest one he has abused physically is age 5.
Gross.
Yeah, man. I mean, he's just a shitty person, man. And I'll show you I'll look it up right now, actually. But his mugshot, man. Like, if you think everything I'm saying right now is bad, just wait till you see this motherfucker's mugshot.
Is he smiling?
Oh, man. let me show you. I'm showing Javi right now, guys.
Yeah, he's fucking smiling.
Yeah, man. Like he's actually smirking. Like you can't misinterpret that this way or another. He's literally smirking in the photo.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah, man. Piece of garbage ass, piece of human being, everything, man. He's not even a human being. It's astounding. Like the remorse factor doesn't seem to be there, you know? And now apparently that his sentencing is slightly less than others in comparison. And the judge says this, which I want your opinion on. He says, quote, "The punishment is sufficient but not greater than necessary," end quote. The prosecution wanted 20 years in prison. So what do you think?
I mean, I feel like even 20 years is too little. Like,
yeah, man.
I don't know, for kind of like sexual crimes like this, like I feel like it's so weird as a society because we as much as we shun it,
yeah,
I feel like it's so embedded in our society from decades and centuries ago. Like, I mean, think about it. Kids used to get married at like 15 and shit like that.
You're absolutely right. And like, it's the truth. I actually consider that myself whenever I think about those situations. I think about that whole thing with NAMBLA, like National Association of Men Loving Boys, whatever. Like basically people who are pedophiles and like grown men who love like small children, you know. They made a joke about it in South Park. Then I looked it up and it's a real thing, you know. But I mean, and this is not me saying this guy is correct in what he does, but humans are weird, you know. They really like, you know, this is not to knock down. I'm wearing the pride shirt, you're wearing the rainbow shirt, but I'm not trying to knock down the LGBT community, right? But what they and anybody that has a brain that is similar to them is in that group, is that you love whoever you want, right? We're not discriminatory against love, color, race, you know. So when does that list stop, right? And then if you say age, then you say where you said, you know, like what are the limits to marry in America in certain states? And then you look at other countries where like little girls are getting married to grown men at like 12.
Yeah, and so it's just I don't know.
And if I may throw in there, people would like to say, like a person, like a little boy who wants to be a girl when he's like 9, right? They're like, some people will argue, no, you can't say that's true. And but then most people in the LGBT community will say, no, that's his decision to decide, and sexuality sprouts much younger than you think, you know, which is things that people do say. I'm not just saying that shit to bash. And I'm not at all trying to put them in the same group as pedophiles. You know, that's a very X-show type of walk I'm making right now, but it's something to think about, you know?
I mean, it's not like defending anything either which way. It's just kind of, it's just something that I think about randomly, where it's just kind of like, because it started with this idea that I had in my head because I started watching Vampire Diaries.
Okay. I watched it.
And it's another like high school like TV show and whatever. So there's an episode where they have a sexy car wash.
Okay.
And I was watching it and I was just kind of like, you know, this is actually kind of gross.
Thinking like, this is pretty sexy.
And so I was just kind of like, you know, like, it's so I thought of like how it's so weird that especially for men with women, like grown men will like compliment or hit on women that are way younger than them, and sort of that idea of like the creepy uncle that like will say, oh, you guys look beautiful and things like that, but it's like, what's the undertone there? And so it's just, I feel like it's so embedded in our society, and like at the end of the day, people like that are sort of predators, and these predators are within our like reach.
I mean, they're everywhere.
They're everywhere, and it's impossible to keep track of them with just a single list.
That's true, because that list is so.
Those are just who got caught.
Exactly, but then I think of like cougars, what people label as cougars, right? And that, like, technically speaking, this is not me speaking for every woman out there, but when it comes to like sexual, how can I say, just like activeness, right? When a woman gets older, like they tend to be more sexually active. I mean, you can be sexually active, whatever the fuck you want to do, you know. But when women are older, they also become more sexually active, you know. So that's an interesting way to look at it too, because I also think it's taboo where if you see an 18-year-old girl dating a 38-year-old guy, it's like, oh, gold digger, or oh, you're a pedophile, you know. But then if it's a different way to, you know, switch the position. If it's an 18-year-old guy with like a 40-year-old woman, you know, it's like, oh, you know, I mean, I don't know how people perceive it, but there are double standards that do exist, you know.
They do exist.
You know?
I mean, I will say that like I've heard of some certain situations with other people before in the past where there was an older girl and a younger guy, and everyone definitely did perceive it as that she was grooming him. So
I don't know if you think we're talking about the same thing.
I think we might be talking about the same thing.
Now it just hit me. Yeah, but exactly that, right? But we don't know. Like what if they really just fuck with each other? But that guy's pretty old. It's but again, that's us what's it called? Like putting our thoughts and
I mean, but I think it's better to at least sort of say like, oh, like they're being groomed versus like like, oh, that's hot. Like,
yeah, man.
I think that's sort of like the last thing it should be labeled as.
That's hot as fuck.
Like Anna brought it up pretty recently when we were watching Vampire Diaries of like this idea of like how back then, especially this idea of dating older men used to be so hot for girls and whatever. And it's just kind of like, that's kind of gross.
It is. But I think also is just, why do women date older men, right? Because they're more mature. They're more like their life is together. Younger guys are stupid. You know what I mean? Like not like that, but you know they are in terms of decision making and all that stuff. More reckless, more this and that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a whole bunch of stuff, right? But I think at the end of the day, it all comes down to like what is okay and when is it okay to do it. You know, in terms of sexuality, this or that, and all that stuff. Because I mean, I don't know, man. It's so interesting today, and that's why this topic is. I mean, this guy's a piece of shit. You know, like this is not to bring him into the conversation we're having, but it definitely brings up that conversation. And now a lot of people are willing to have it, I think so. You know, so if you're listening to this and you're dating a 50-year-old guy and you're 18, whatever, man.
Nah. You can say whatever. Javi's saying, check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Make that money. And isn't in Twilight? Isn't the guy way older than the girl?
I mean, he's a fucking vampire.
Like,
of course he is.
I remember seeing that joke all the time. I mean, I don't know, man. Batman is the original pedo. Good movie though. Okay, so to end off this,
and remember, Batman kills babies too.
Batman kills babies. That's right. Dark sides. So now this is the wrap up. We can continue talking about it a little more after. But which is very strong. The mother of one of the unidentified victims who appeared in the material, the pornography that Duggar downloaded.
Okay.
She says, quote, "My daughter is a real person. She was horribly victimized to provide the source of entertainment," the woman said. She said she is exploited anew each and every time an image of her suffering is copied, traded, or sold. And then she wanted to pass on a message from her daughter to Duggar. And the daughter said, this is just sad. She says, "Don't you know no one should do that to a little girl? Don't you know it hurts?" And so, I mean, that's just terrible, you know, because that's something that, you know, is also true. Because I don't think I included it in here, but I think he was also blamed for like distributing that child pornography.
Okay.
So it just worsens more and more and more. But again, this is not to justify it, but what do you think an effect of being on TV has to do with that? Because I'm sure they argue that plenty in the courtroom.
I mean, you know, I feel like I'm kind of in the camp of fame or money just kind of makes you more of who you are. Okay. So I think like for a guy like this, fame and money just made it easier for him to do this. Probably. Like I think some things are just sort of innate in people, and I think it like pedophilia is one of those things. Kind of like how you said that it's just sometimes you can't control who you love. Yeah. It's just for some people it's just like that, and
it's interesting.
I don't think you can really change that.
That's when it gets really tricky, right? Because then you go to like a psychologist and they're like, are you mentally unstable or are you just a human being? You know?
I mean, it's just I think we do definitely label it more as like mentally ill to like people that are pedophiles, we sort of label them as mentally ill because of what they do. Yeah. But
what the societal norm is, because that could change anytime, given like past, you know, states that have 14-year-olds that are like fucking and stuff like that. You know, it's weird.
Yeah, it's weird because it's just there's no set like number there's no universal number for anything. Yeah, and it's just we're just supposed to not be okay and be okay with certain things. And
yeah, man. So so this motherfucker is gonna be in jail, and I mean then I think of Jared, who looks exactly like him just with glasses, you know, and he'll be out pretty soon. Actually, I was looking it up, not like in the couple of years mark, but like in the decade mark and stuff. And I mean, it's gonna be crazy when he's released.
I wanna be there when he gets out. Just like I kick him in the nuts.
Just hold the pants up.
I'm like, you see these, buddy?
I used to fuck with you.
I bought these off of eBay.
$6,000.
You ruined them.
Eat fresh.
Eat. That's it.
Fucking yeah, bro. That guy was all over TV, and he just fucked up pretty badly, And I mean, his case is probably way worse. But now this next guy I want to talk to you about, right? This is I saw a documentary on this guy. I've been knowing about this case. It's a man named Larry Nassar. Right?
Okay.
Now this is old news realistically because he's been sentenced. Like he's not like ongoing, right? But it was definitely major news. Now why I am bringing it up is because there was a news that came out due to his being in jail and stuff, prison, that let's just say, and to sum it up briefly, the 2 FBI agents who the girls were going to in this situation, they completely ignored them. Like they heard them, but they disregarded what they had to say, and what they disregarded ended up being what reformed like gymnastics for women in general, for kids in general, and all people. So imagine that, like you're in charge of protecting people at a very, very high level. And 2 people come up to you or like, come up to you and like, hey, it's like something bad is happening to all of us. And you're like, whatever. And they were found not guilty for doing their job incorrectly. So so all there was, I think they got fired. One of them got fired, one of them got suspended. But I think they should fucking be held accountable. As you'll see here, a lot of other people should be too. So Larry Nassar, Larry space Nassar, right? He was a former gymnastics doctor. He was a doctor for Team USA and Michigan State University, right? This is a long one, right?
Okay.
So the first person to speak out was Cal Stevens. She says, I was ready to speak, Cal said in an interview with the BBC after her testimony. She says, I think it was really empowering to get up there and give my story from start to finish. Now, Larry Nassar abused young women throughout his whole time as being an Olympic doctor and Michigan State University and other places, right? Let's say, I mean, girls from like age 6 and older and younger, Now,
disgusting.
Mm-hmm. There's a gymnast called Simone Biles. I don't know if you've heard of her.
I don't think so.
She's very popular with the media. How can I say? She was in the news a while back because she ended up like in the Olympics. She kind of didn't continue. She said that I'm not mentally fit right now and I can't. There's a lot of controversy about who's to do what and this and that. But if I show you a picture, you know what she is. Let me do that real quick so I could. But for those listening, Simone Biles.
Spell it out.
Simone space Biles. She was on Uber Eats commercials and shit. I don't know if you find it familiar. Right now I'm showing Javi. No?
Nah.
How dare you, Javi? She's American.
I guess I'm not an American.
No, but she's really like popular in the media.
Hey, I got a quote for you.
What's it called?
From your favorite movie.
What's up?
We're Americans.
What movie is this? Fuck.
It's one of your favorites.
One of my favorites. Damn.
Here. I'll try and recreate the scene where imagine you're being attacked, you and your family being attacked by another family that looks just like you in red jumpsuits.
Yo, fuck this show. I'm out of here, bro. My favorite movies. She was alright. That was the Larry Nassar movies.
Damn.
Nah, fuck it. It's not that bad. Okay, anyway, so one of the affected gymnasts is Simone Biles, and there's a whole bunch of other women gymnasts, but just like the WNBA, who are they? We just don't know who these people are. That's not to come at the athletes themselves. That's just to say that there's more of a focus on male athletes than women athletes. That's a fact, This guy was a doctor for Team USA, American Gymnastics, and Michigan State University for 20 plus years, right? He worked with high schools, local gyms because of his contract with MSU, Michigan State University, requiring his outreach into the community. So, he was very active. I mean, he gave medical advice and medically like examined and helped hundreds of children for many years, right? Let's see, like when it comes to gymnastics, especially like at a young age for girls, what they say here is that like level 5 students, what they call them. One of the quotes from the documentary says, when you do gymnastics at that age, 100% of the students will be injured.
Oh, wow.
That's how intense it is. And therefore, it would have been inevitable to see Larry Nassar for treatment.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And a lot of people liked him. Like, all the girls like this guy. Like, they, and the way they say that is that, and I'll get in more on this later, at a ranch that they would practice in, like this big facility that all USA people would practice in, there was a very strict policy. There was no phone use, no phone access. The hospital was really far away. Like if you had to get to a hospital, it was like you had to take a helicopter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This is the guy that I'm talking about. Larry Nassar, if you want to Google image his face.
Okay.
Yeah. Looks like
he also looks like a piece of shit.
Yeah, he does. And he is a piece of shit. I guarantee you that.
Like, you know, just the other day, I took a shit. And, you know.
Unlike Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, unlike him. Yeah. Because, you know, I'm an actual god.
Yeah, exactly.
I pray to myself.
Exactly.
And I took a shit. And, you know, just out of curiosity, I took a peek. And it definitely looked like that guy.
The shit had a little piece of glasses on him.
Definitely looked like that guy. Like, resemblance is uncanny.
And then when it flipped, it looked like Josh Duggar. Flush. So yeah, like a lot of the women on the team would refer to him as the guardian angel of gymnasts. He would give snacks to people and this and that. And I mean, the ranch I'm talking about is the Corelli's ranch, right? 2 people ran that ranch, Martin Corelli and Bella Corelli, right? Again, they were very far from the hospital, no cell phone service. Now, in 2000, Bella and Marta, the Corellis, took over the U.S. national team program. This was part of a new semi-centralized system, and they required all national team gymnasts to attend monthly camps at the ranch, which was in Texas.
Okay.
So if you were in women's gymnastics and you were killing it, you were going there. Or if you wanted any hope to go there because they were the best, right?
It's like Top Gun.
Yeah, man. It was the U.S. It was the U.S. It was the U.S. Women's National Team Training Center and the U.S. Olympic Training Site. So, if you were at the camp training there, you were not able to go to your personal coach or your parent. And mind you, little kids. Again, he gave candy, snacks. He lent his cell phone and was a friend to people. In the midst of the strict culture there. Like I don't know if you ever been in part, like I did sports before, right? Like high school football and all that stuff, lacrosse, and I won't ever say that I was held to the standards of here. But you know, it's a little change. It's a little like, hey, get going, you know, this and that. Like, you know, you're like, oh my God, people are screaming at me just to run and shit. Like, yeah. But it's a change of pace. Of course, it wasn't like Nazi Germany. It was something that like you switch on and off, right? So I imagine this was that on a fucking steroid escalated 1,000 times intensified way, right?
Like Whiplash.
And now he would see kids in many places, dorm rooms, hotel rooms, in the ranch, everywhere that he had access to the gymnasts and kids. That's where he would attend them, right? Now to go on to the Corellis real quick, let's put Larry Nassar to the side. That aside from being molested at the ranch, the Corellis, it was just 2 old people, right? They're from a different country. They would strike young children. They would scratch minor child gymnasts until they bled. And they would encourage the parents of the children of the gymnasts to hit their children to make them better.
Damn.
Yeah, man. Because that was just the culture of like, we need to produce the best for the country for Olympics, right? How can I say them? Now, the Corellis, when they provided no supervision, like in terms of Nassar and what he was doing. So it was kind of like, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. While Nassar was molesting children, these 2 people would kind of keep up this strict culture. And if nobody told on Nassar would have never told them.
Yeah.
You know? So right here, in exchange for his silence and willful blindness to the regime of fear, intimidation, and physical and emotional abuse of minor child gymnasts, is what the lawsuit is stating. Now, there's a gymnast who goes by the name of Larson, last name, first name, I don't know. But she was the 2010 U.S. champion on floor exercise. She said that the abuse at Caroli Ranch was so bad that she self-inflicted a head injury to avoid going to the ranch. She said, "I was willing to physically hurt myself." She banged her head on the bathtub floor in order to cause a gash.
Damn.
That would like made her not be able to, work out no more.
And she's just a kid too.
She's a fucking child, man. So that's crazy, right?
This is like a bad anime.
Yeah. Oh man, it gets worse. Animes wish it got as dark as this, and there's some pretty dark animes out there. So now so a lawsuit came at John and Martha, or whatever, the Corellis, right, in 2017, and it basically said that they, quote, turned a blind eye to the perpetrator Nassar's sexual abuse of children at the ranch, right? Now this I'm gonna read fully just because I don't want to get it fucked up. According to the transcript of the deposition, which was obtained exclusively by CNN early this year, Manley asked Caroli, "Were you ever advised by any USAG official in or around June 2015 that they had received a complaint that Dr. Nassar had molested a national team gymnast at a ranch?" She answered, "Yes, I did." She went on to say that the former U.S. gymnastics president, Steve Penny, informed her of the allegations according to the transcript. So she admitted that she was told. But now, in 2016, Martha Caroli's lawyer said she misspoke in the deposition, and he reiterated her previous claim that she had no knowledge of the allegations until the summer of 2016. So she switched up real quick.
Yeah.
And that's very
real
efficient.
Back and forth.
Yeah. Now we're going to get into the abuse, which is very intense. Again, I'm trying to get my words right so I get everything careful and right. Larry Nassar was very admirable by gymnasts, and they spoke highly of him. They even called him awesome. They called him by his first name. Like, that's Larry. Like, oh, it's Larry, this and that. He would medically examine dancers, rowers, gymnasts, and athletics. Anybody involved with the community, right? He volunteered at church, high schools, and he was looked at as the nice guy. And he was in the position to manipulate and molest. Like one child counselor says, just like a priest, a coach, or an Orthodox rabbi. You're in the control of little children, this and that. Like, they look up to you. More so than anything, though, he's a doctor. Remember? Now, so this is where it gets really, really real. The method of molestation was when the children would come in for pain in their body. He would perform what he called a, quote, vaginal adjustment.
Ugh.
He would stick his ungloved, unlubricated hand in the vaginal cavity of these girls. He did this regardless of what pain you were in. It could have been your ankle, your hip, your back, but he was always doing this procedure.
Ugh.
He would say that in the vagina were pressure points to relieve pain in ankle or other parts. The appointments will last up to 2 hours, and he would talk throughout the whole session. So he would just be like, "Hey, we're doing this and this and that." He even had, in the documentary, there's plenty of videos of him like showing you, and they blur out the little girls' faces, but like what he's doing, And while he's doing this to the girls, the parents would be in the room with them. Because there was this thing where parents were in the room, he molested the children, and it was all viewed as medical help. So the child would be like, "Wait, something must be going on. It's weird because I don't feel comfortable with this." But my dad or mom is there, and he's a doctor, so it must be okay. And then the doctor's there saying, the parent is there probably saying, "Well, my kid is here, and this is a doctor, and he does it to everybody, so it must be okay." And what ends up happening is that maybe the next appointment, the parent isn't there that time. Get me? And things just get kind of creepier. Again, his appointments will last 2 hours. The patient and the parent in the room. And
that's just kind of crazy that the parents would be in the room. Like, what the fuck?
And the guilt they felt afterwards is crazy. But again, this is a doctor. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, this is why, like, I know a lot of women who would rather have a woman doctor in the room rather than a male doctor. Just because of those situations and these women are scarred for life, the ones that were molested by him, Now, this is crazy. He would bring students to the basement of his house to treat them. The basement, bro. Like, wherever do you hear that, right?
I'm just shaking my head.
He offered free treatments to take everyone that would take place in his basement. So if you had treatment there, It was free. He would get erections, grunt, and take his belt off. He was the only doctor at the ranch. Therefore, he was the only doctor to go to when you got hurt. And he pretty much always molested, aka used the vaginal adjustment method, right? Now, there's a guy named John Geddert, right? He was basically the one who kept Larry Nassar at Michigan State University.
Okay.
Where he had more access to gymnasts there than gymnasts at the ranch. So, the coach, John Geddert, he was described as a very intense coach. He was called, quote, Satan by one gymnast. And he would belittle, insult, and throw water bottles at people who messed up the tricks and everything, you know? So this is crazy. One gymnast dealt with harsh pain in her leg. And she never got x-rays, even though, like, it was hurting like crazy. But Larry Nassar would just treat her constantly, you know? It's like she was thinking, she was like, why
treat her?
Yeah. And he was doing his vaginal adjustment thing, this and that. And she was thinking, like, why am I getting x-rays? It hurts so much. And right before the finals, she told the guy, John Geddert, she was like, hey, like, I just can't take it no more. Like, my leg hurts so much, even outside of wondering why there's no x-ray. And John Geddert says, get your fucking stuff and get your stuff out the locker and get out. Like, you're not allowed back here no more. Like, to do gymnastics, period.
Damn.
It turned out that she had a broken leg the whole time.
Wow.
And that her basically one part of her leg would split and the other one would just keep driving into it, kind of like a wedge. And while they were around the John Geddert, they would talk about the treatment they got from Larry Nassar, meaning the vaginal adjustment. So what they say is that he definitely had to hear what was going on. But again, there's harsh treatment towards the athletes and this harsh, terrible molestation happening. It's like both won't go out if both just stay silent, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And mind you, all these girls they're probably all wondering, like, wait, is this right? Is this right? But it's all happening. So you get this culture of like, do you think it's weird that he's doing that to you? And they're like, no, he does it to me all the time.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's interesting. Then we get a woman that her name is Kathy Klages. I'm going to spell her last name. Her last name is Klages. She was the friend of John Geddert, the person I just mentioned, and Larry Nassar. She was also one of the head coaches at Michigan State University, right? In 1997, she was told by one of her gymnasts that she was molested. She was advised about the vaginal adjustment, but she responded, Larry Nassar, would never do anything inappropriate. I've known him for years. So that was her immediate response, which is ridiculous because now, like, I would assume that if anybody ever tells you that, you immediately go to the police or somebody, you know? So when one girl was like, no, bro, like, I'm dead as getting molested, she said, okay. And she brought in other students around that girl, you know? And she said, hey, did anybody else get abused by Larry Nassar? All of them said no, except one other person. So now we have two people that are saying, no, he did abuse us. That's what I think. Mm-hmm. But everybody else is like, no, everything's fine. So she was like, okay. But she still didn't really quite believe her. So then she brought in older college students and she asked the same question. And basically all of them were just kind of saying like, no, like that's what he does is a thing and this and that, you know? But some of them also were saying I got violated. So after 2 waves of questioning in terms of the abuse, she said that she was going to file a complaint. But if she filed the complaint, there would be really grave consequences for the person blaming Larry and for Larry himself. Mm-hmm. So kind of like a threat almost, right?
Okay.
And now everybody likes Larry. Everybody thinks Larry's a great guy. So the girl, and even her saying it on the documentary, she said, I was embarrassed. And she said she felt bad for Larry, you know, that this would happen if this was supposed to happen. The Kathy lady told Larry Nassar about the situation. And the next appointment with that person that, you know, brought it up initially, mm-hmm. Larry Nassar brought it up to her. And when she heard that, you know, he found out, she started crying and apologized to him for accusing him. And then he would abuse her right afterwards.
Damn.
Yeah, man. So it's like, what the fuck? You know, like the people, like, there's no one there to help you. Everybody's normalizing this.
Yeah. And it's, again, like I said, it's just they're predators. Like, it's just, you can't really stop them. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
And things like you can, but if there's other resources that are helping you, but nobody wants to help these girls.
I mean, it's because it's just they're so young. It's kind of like that, like the boy who cried wolf situation. It's like no one really wants to believe that this is happening.
That's true, and that's something that somebody was saying that like a specialist or something. She was saying like as soon as your child says something to you, like you believe them off the bat, like and how. You'll see later on how like a lot of the manipulation was also in Larry's hand. Like there's an investigation that I don't really cover here because it's really pretty long. But there's this group, this committee, that when he was finally put into investigation, he was able to choose the 4 people that would investigate him.
Bruh.
Yeah, it's crazy, and they will leave out crazy stuff in the documentation. So now. From 1997 to 2015, in just Michigan State University, there are 17 incidents of reported molestation. Right? There's a former MSU student, Amanda Thomashaw. We're pretty much halfway done already. Was molested during a session with Larry Nassar. When he inserted her fingers, she pushed him away. He ran to the corner and hid his erection. She's 24 years old. After the investigation, they told Amanda that she misunderstood the situation and left out the erection and the push-off. What I'm trying to say is that, how can I say it? I think I wrote that incorrectly. But basically, she said it in the interview, but they left it out of the documentation.
Okay.
So they said that her complaint stood there, but they left out the fact that he had an erection and that he put his fingers in her.
Okay.
So all they know is a vague statement of that. He was put on a leave for 90 days, and then he was told to start wearing gloves, to start asking consent, and have somebody in the room. They were never truly instilled, though, these policies. He was just told he had to do these things. And this was the beginning of the Title IX investigation. In spring 2015, there's a lady called Maggie Nichols. She's on the gymnast of the U.S. national team gymnast. She spoke aloud about her skepticism about Larry Nassar's treatment. And the USA Gymnastics former president, Steve Penny, he knew about what was happening. But he was like, don't report this to the higher-ups. Like, let us handle it internally.
Okay.
Mind you, he's the USA Gymnastics former president.
It's such a, corporate response. Yeah. Let's handle it internally. Yeah. Fuck you.
Facts. The parents waited 5 weeks for them to do something internally, and then they went to the FBI. This is when those 2 FBI agents come in. So imagine what they didn't do, right? Larry Nassar, even after being investigated, was able to resign from USA Gymnastics. So he was able to leave and be like, I'm so thankful for the opportunity here and this and that. Like, no shame was put on him. And then he went to go to MSU and continue his molestation.
Bruh.
The FBI never opened an investigation. Michigan State University never informed anyone about an investigation on Nassar when he resigned USA Gymnastics and he continued at MSU. There was another lady, Rachel Denhollander, who came forward in summer 2016, and she openly named Larry Nassar as an abuser. Now, this name, Raquel or Rachel Dan Hollander, is important because she was the first to ever publicly name this guy, right?
Okay.
She said to the newspaper that she was sexually assaulted at 15 years old. And then one other person came out afterwards. And the crazy thing is that even the people that were molested by Larry came to his defense because they didn't believe what they were seeing on the news. They saw it as like, no, there's no way. Like, he was just doing his medical stuff. Like, he's just being Larry. Like, no way, it's Larry, you know?
Yeah.
So then in September, he got fired from MSU. And then in November, he was charged on a state sex abuse charge. Only one victim, though, right? He was first arrested on charges of abusing the daughter of a family friend. And since she was not a patient, there could be no defense of medically necessary treatments. So, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, basically, like a switch around, you know?
So, because she wasn't a patient, they couldn't
say that he was, like, what he was doing wizard wasn't medically necessary.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
He made bail at $1 million and then continued to do his thing at a high school. So, again, now, all these girls are like, nobody believed them. Mind you, they're getting shamed for coming out forward to like basically put this guy's name down, right? Even though he's a dickhead. Even like videos show people saying like, there's no way Larry will do this. We are 100% behind him. He would never do this. Da, 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 right? So all the girls are like, damn, like nobody's going to believe us, right? 37,000 child pornography images and videos were found on his hard drive.
Fuck.
And then that's when everybody started believing this, the girls. 37,000 child pornography images and videos.
What was the average number that you brought up before? Because isn't that lower than the average number?
So that's no. The average. This is where it gets really interesting. So the Josh Duggar guy, I'm happy you said that. The Josh Duggar guy had 600, right? The judge said 4,000 was the average. This guy had 37,000, and his lawyer, a woman, his female lawyer, Larry Nassar, said that his number is significantly low for people that commit these crimes. So where's the bullshit? You know, like the shame this lady. I mean, she must be really just ethically numb, because the money she got paid. Man, 125 women came to testify against this guy.
It's crazy that it's a woman lawyer too.
That's what I'm saying. And then the fact that she's, you know, you should see her talk. It's Satan speaking themselves. You know, like it's crazy. As soon as, again, those 37,000 child pornography images and videos on his hard drive were found, his bond was revoked and he stayed in jail. In July 2017, he pled guilty to possession of child pornography, but he was still facing 25 sexual assault charges in the state of Michigan. He eventually decided to plead guilty to the state sexual charges in Michigan. As part of the plea agreement, prosecutors would not press charges for an additional 125 sexual assault cases against Nassar. He would also have to listen to victim impact statements. So he was in court, and all these women came forward and basically told them her story. Now, at the beginning of all this, there's a lady, Cal Stevens. She was the first to speak in court. To her, this is what happened. He exposed his penis to the first victim to release a statement, Cal Stevens, in a court in a boiler room. He told her, if you ever want to see it, you just have to ask, end quote. He masturbated as they played hide and seek, and he rubbed his penis on her feet. Ugh. She was 6 years old at the time. Ugh. Because this would happen to her, the victim would argue because she felt abused. But the dad would argue back to her, saying that she needs to apologize for accusing Larry of this, right? When the news came out about all this, the father committed suicide in 2016.
Fuck.
Man, it's just sad. Because he knew he was wrong, you know? And he had his child not only abusing behind his back, but right in front of him. When sentencing began, 88 survivors were scheduled to speak, and by the end of the year, that number grew to 156.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, man. And again, this is why, and the judge says so, it's so important that the Rachel Dahlhanger, that it's so important for her to speak, because she was the last victim to give a statement, right? Mm-hmm. And the judge called her like really powerful. She was like, you led this movement, you started this whole thing, and a whole bunch of other people are able to like, oh, bro, it's just sad thinking about it. Holy shit. But like, come out because of you, you know? Mm-hmm. Now, Larry Nassar's children and defense attorney both received death threats. His wife divorced him, and even a father of three lunged at him in court. He said to the judge, he was like, can I get 5 minutes alone with this guy? And the judge was like, of course not. And he was like, just give me 1 minute alone. And she's like, I can't do that. You know, I can't do that. And he's like, well, I'm gonna do it right now. He lunged at him.
Damn.
Yeah, and I wish he had hit him. You know, I really wish he had hit him. But the cops did their job and they held him down. Even
did their job.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I would have just been like, oh, I just didn't see anything. You know, like, but
if I was the cops, I'd have been like, oh, there he goes. Oh, he's beating him up. That's crazy.
Like,
damn, he's really going. Oh, you want me to stop it?
Reach. Oh, back up.
Let me put down my sandwich.
Gotta tie your shoes.
Okay, all right.
Gotta tie your shoes.
And he's dead.
Damn. The whole course, like, damn. There was nothing that could have been done. Now this is crazy, bro. I'm almost at the end, right? This is crazy. So throughout the statements, I think after the first day of statements, which of course, imagine all these girls are facing him in court, reading what he did to them, and how they respond. One of them even knew him personally. Like, she was 37, she knew him 31 out of the 37 years she's been alive.
Wow.
So like that's how far this guy's willing to go. He wrote a letter requesting that he would be mentally unable to handle more statements in the future. He tried to halt the victim's statements, you know? This is a portion that was read of his letter after the statements, right?
Okay.
Because after all the victims gave their statements, he decided to speak to the people, like the girls he molested. Like, I don't know why he would do that, but he said, in his thing, he said, I apologize, And what he kept doing, because when you apologize in court, you got to face the judge. But he kept turning around to talk to the girls themselves. And every time he did that, the girls would just cry more. The judge saw what he was doing. I'm assuming trying to make his apology seem more authentic and, you know? So after he was done reading his apology, the judge said, okay, I don't feel the sincerity is there in your voice or in your actions. So I'm going to read a little bit of the letter you gave me to try to stop the statements. This is a portion of the letter that he wrote, Larry Nassar. He wrote, quote, the media convinced them that everything I did was wrong and bad. They feel I broke their trust. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. End quote. That's fucking crazy, man. Like, that's crazy.
What a dumbass.
What an idiot, you know? And then the judge says to him,
That's a real whoops. Fucking idiot.
The judge says to him after the sentencing, I've just signed your death warrant. And after a judge sentenced Nassar to 40 to 175 years in prison for sexually assaulting more than 150 women, some of those women weren't identified. In March 2018, MSU agreed to a $500 million settlement for athletes who were abused by Larry Nassar, and over 300 women came forward. On top of another thing, this is the last written thing I have. Congress passed legislation in 2018 to enforce mandatory reporting. 1 week after the Nassar sentencing, the entire board of USA Gymnastics resigned. 1 month later, Scott Blackmun stepped down as the chief executive of the United States Olympics I don't know what C that's for, coach or whatever. And this is just a throw-in. The president of MSU at the time, I forgot what it was. One of the girls was asking her, like, what are you going to do about the people that are abused and this and that? And she's like, well, we're paying you guys. And she's like, what about in the past? Like, you know, all those medical bills we had to pay in the past for this. And she's like, that doesn't cover that.
Damn.
And she got fired. Or she resigned or some shit like that. I mean, bro, it's a crazy motherfucking story.
I mean, even sort of taking the settlement too, it's just like, at the end of the day, it's like, it's just about money.
Really? Like what, you know?
It's like, at the end of the day, the school is like, oh, that really sucks, but
Here's
this is
some
great
cash
for funding.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's really crazy. And I mean, first of all, I've always been very interested in the story just because it's so intense. Like, it's such an intense story. And just watching the documentary, like one of the points they make is that this I won't get into because it's extremely long and I don't know the full details. But there's a guy named Sandusky. I don't know if you heard about that. The Sandusky trials. Where at, if I'm not mistaken, Penn State. It was boys on a football team, and this motherfucker straight up would just molest them as well for playing time. So he would get in the showers with them, this and that, blah blah blah. Yeah, OD, and that got struck down like that as soon as the news came out. But when this was coming out again with the FBI agents and everybody else, nobody was believing these girls. And who's to say if those pornography charges didn't come out?
And what year did this happen?
I'll tell you right now. He was sentenced in March 2018 was the settlement. So 1997 2015, that's when the allegations came out. So in the midst of 2016 2018. So this is not that long ago. This is like four years ago type shit.
But he's been doing it since 97.
Bro, I mean, that again, the first one came out in 1997, and imagine before that. This guy,
because something that just makes me think, it's like, I feel like it's also the times. Since
he was 58 years old and he was coach for 20 years. So that's how long he's been doing it. But you're right, the times, right?
Like, I just feel like today we're a lot more alert about these sort of things and pedophilia and whatever the case is, especially with the internet and whatever the case is. So I think we're just a lot more alert today. So hearing the Penn State thing get like broken down pretty quick doesn't surprise me. But then again, it's also a school like Penn State, so it's like I'm sure they take measures pretty quick to not let their reputation be tarnished.
That's what they were saying, that the whole board was their only job was to make sure that they're protected, the kids, right? And I kind of agree, but I also think that like 4 years ago isn't that long ago. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to like just believing these young girls, you know?
No, I mean, I agree.
But you're right though. Like, I mean, I think the reasons that we're so caught up in it now is because of people like this guy and Sandusky and all these other people. But man, like 20 years of this shit, you know, like shit is crazy.
It's pretty fucking gross.
Yeah, man. And I know it's a long ass story. Like, I know it's a very long story, but I felt like that really needed every single detail, because I hope, like, if you're hearing this, I almost forgot we're doing the podcast. I feel like I'm just telling you shit, you know? But like, I hope if you're hearing this, like, you know, I know it's really hard to hear, but it's very real. And you should, I mean, the documentaries on YouTube, there's 2. I watched the shorter one because fuck the 4-hour one. That's way too long. But I read a whole bunch of articles too. And now, like they want to, what's it called? Bring justice to the people that ignored them, like the people who ran the ranch, the person who scratched the kids, a bunch of people, and the FBI agents, because they deserve the day in court too, you know?
Yeah.
And
I mean, definitely hearing about how intense like that whole like facility was and whatever, I feel like that just aids my whole like debate that sports is just sort of modern day slavery.
Yeah.
Like fucking whipping up these kids to be tip top shape for what?
Yeah, man.
For a fucking gold medal that their parents are gonna put up somewhere.
I mean, I could say something about what's it called, minimum wage job. You know,
I mean, I know you can.
You know, because
I fucking agree. It's dumb.
Modern day slavery is very real, and of course the most very vivid example of jails, like Rikers Island, like, you know, people who work in jails for like 15 cents an hour or like 20 cents just to, you know, because they're in jail. I mean, but I agree with that too, for sure. I think the beauty of athletics is, though, I guess, is just like the physical, you know, benefit and this or that. But you're right. I'm conflicted because there's actually a woman that was there that still allows her kids to do gymnastics at a young age. Like, it didn't stop her, and some people are like, nah. But she was there because I enjoy the sport, and I'm not gonna let nobody take away my enjoyment of it, right? But aside the molestation, I just still think like practices like having your children put in that position of athletic pressure is really crazy. Like I mentioned, a lot of football players don't put their kids in football because they don't want their kids' heads getting bashed back to back. Nor do I think, in my opinion, that Pee-wee football should involve actual physical contact. Like, when I see little kids getting hit, like with full football equipment, like a helmet and pads, like, I'm not knocking you down if you let your kids do that, but I just think that's a terrible way to develop them. Like, you know, like, it just sounds crazy, bro.
I mean, they're just little sacks.
Yeah, man, that's what I said. Little lumps. Just little lumps.
Little spuds.
Yeah, bro. And for them to be bashing their head into one another, because that shit hurts. Like, it's not that, like, I've done it before. That shit hurt like a bitch. And I can imagine, just like as a kid, man, I don't know. They say boxing is worse than UFC because you get hit in the head more. And you hear Mayweather talk. He talks like this. Yeah. I make a lot of money and money Mayweather. You know, it's just like, why do you think they talk like that? You know, like Adrian Broner, like even Canelo Alvarez, you know, like all these boxers that are famous and stuff. Like, why do you think they have this stutter? Why do you think Muhammad Ali died of Parkinson's disease? You know, and I got a story about Lou Gehrig, who's a baseball player, that I'm gonna tell you in the future when we do like a history episode. It's so interesting. But those athletes were put in a position of their health mattering less than their, you know, it was more important for them to show up than to, like, you know, this or that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like, I think, I mean, athletics is a whole different conversation, you know, when it comes down to the grit of it. But I love me some boxing. I love me some UFC. I love me some football. All sports, high key. But this shit, man, like, like he's definitely gonna rot in jail. And the judge prison. Yeah, right. Absolutely.
God, Frankie, get your shit together.
20 episodes in, I still don't fucking know the difference. The judge said that if he had shown remorse in any form or way, she would have given him the 40-year penalty, right?
Okay.
But it's because he's shown no remorse. He knew exactly what he was doing. He never chose to take himself out of that position that she's not doing it. Mind you, he would be like 88 if he got that. But, I mean, better for him to rot in prison for the rest of his life, you know?
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Piece of shit, man.
Man, what a
yeah.
tough episode.
This is a crazy episode. But, you know, we missed the weekend shit, so I thought I'd come back with a banger.
Yeah, a banger, all right.
It's fucking crazy, man. So Larry Nassar and to Josh Duggar, go fuck yourselves, and you are not liked by the society. Absolutely not. But Jesus Christ, man.
I want to kick them in the nuts.
Facts, man.
I want to make them fertile.
Dead ass. I want to cut their ankles.
Damn. You want to do the Evil Dead ankle stab?
Yeah, man. Oh, that's exactly what I want to do, man. But like 20 times over, you know? But nah, man, nothing will take away that pain for those people, those women. How can I say? I joke about it a lot, like the Bill Cosby stuff and everything, you know. But like, you know, that situation is obviously different in a way, but it just includes that same blanket of shit, you know. Apparently, he's going back to court. I don't know if you heard about that.
No, I didn't.
Another woman came out with allegations, so he's not right now. He's innocent until proven guilty. Again, I don't really care to call him innocent. It's just funny because the court called him innocent, not me. I'm just reiterating what the court said, you know. That's our justice system. You take it as you will. But it's crazy. One of the girls said that she is unable to go to the doctor without being scared because she's scared that it'll happen again to her. And that she has to take like pills and see therapists, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, it's just, you ruin lives. Like, you know, like, in multiple ways. 156 women came out, bro. 300 ultimately.
Yeah, that's pretty. I like the fact that it even got that high.
Yeah, man.
Fucking disgusting.
Yeah, and there's probably so many more that never came out or like discreetly came out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But aside that, on some lighter news, okay. We're going to talk about some manga sales, right?
Okay.
And manga, for those that don't know, is basically a Japanese comic book, right? Mm-hmm. Ultimately. And it'll relate to our A.M.C section later. You might hear it within here, but we won't tell you that till the A.M.C section comes. So, in Japan, there's kind of like a magazine almost, right? Or like this book that comes out. It's called the Weekly Shonen Jump. Right?
Okay.
And this is where mangas are released weekly, and it's very popular in Japan with mangas like, especially right now, One Piece and Jujutsu Kaisen. They're the major leaders of this category of manga selling, right? The big trio that used to dominate the releases was One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach, or Naruto, whatever the fuck. I don't care how you say it. All three of those works just mentioned are among the best-selling mangas of all time, with One Piece coming first, Naruto 6th, and Bleach 11th, right? Now, the reason I want to bring this up is because you create comic books, right? Mm-hmm. And I was very interested in how they would cover the topics of manga and comic books, which is the same thing. Like even the creator of some of these mangas called their creations comic books. So I like that. I thought that was cool because I didn't want there to be a difference because it's the same shit, you know, just different format. But I thought sales would be interesting to look at because we involve a couple of titles that you might even know. All right. Now, volume 102 of One Piece, which was released in 1999. Oh no, 1999 is when One Piece began.
Okay.
But volume 102 sold 1,050,333 copies, and volume 19 of Jujutsu Kaisen, which began in 2018, sold 1,160,230 copies. So they're in the million category, right?
The Trace Comics Club. That's a Silicon Valley joke for you guys.
I don't know what the fuck you're saying. Nice. Now, mind you, both these mangas sold at 1 million plus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I'm trying to create the topic of is the list of highest selling mangas, you know, altogether, and how ultimately these two mangas are taking over any others. Brian told me about this yesterday, but this is what I read in the article. He told me about the manga. There's a man called Black Clover, right? It is one of the best sold copies, volume 32. And how much copies do you think it sold?
I'm gonna say 1.8
million.
Yeah,
it sold 105,158.
Wait, 105,000 million?
No, 105,000.
Oh,
copies.
So that's low.
That's super low. like incredibly low. And there's a manga called PPP.
What the fuck?
The ending of it apparently exposes what the title means. But it's PPP. That's the name of it. It sold 13,970 copies, and the Roran sold 4,936 copies.
Okay.
So it's basically saying how manga is kind of at a like imminent threat level, like type shit. You know, like its sales are they're wondering what's gonna happen because One Piece eventually is gonna end very soon. Like the creator said that. I'll tell you later more about that. But it's like pretty much coming to an end. It might take a while though. But when Demon Slayer ended, which is a manga, and you know this and that was one of their highest selling mangas.
Mm-hmm.
So sales plummeted after the Demon Slayer ended. To put it into perspective, mind you, it's the weekly Shonen Jump where these drop. In the 1970s, they were selling 1 million. Oh no, in 1995. They were selling 6.53 million copies per week in distribution.
Oh, wow.
As of in the 1970s, it dropped to 1,422,776 copies per week. So that's a 5 million drop.
Yeah.
And that's pretty crazy, you know? And now they say here One Piece is the best-selling manga of all time, and it's soon to surpass Harry Potter. They're both at 500 million sales right now.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Like, I think Harry Potter is ahead, but timing is going to just say that with more releases, eventually One Piece is going to surpass that. Mm-hmm. The best-selling book in the world is the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 3 billion or some shit. There are 1,000 chapters and 100 volumes of One Piece. Now, this is just some 2 little quick facts that I saw. Batman has sold 495 million issues.
Okay.
As of 2021, so probably a little more by now. But the all-time leader for everything I'm just saying is Superman, which has sold 600 million issues. So ain't nobody touching Superman anytime soon, which is crazy. That's fucking dope as shit. And I mean that's pretty much that whole little thing. I mean it's way shorter compared to other stories because it's. I mean I imagine they're all pedophiles. But the reason I bring it up is because like, what do you think about this in terms of like comic book sales like in America and stuff like that? Because all I really got was Superman and Batman. I don't know if you know anything because you told me the sales went up more so in coronavirus times. That I do remember. Like obviously we're past that a little more. So what does that make you think as a person creating comics in the future as well?
Well, I mean, I am curious to see what are sort of like the digital sales or any comparisons to that because you know everything's just kind of going digital and whatever. As we said before, 2020 was the best year comics has had in its lifetime.
Yeah, man.
Which,
you should see the fucking stack of comics I have in my house. I organize my books.
Nice.
Bruh, that shit is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I just gotta throw it out there. Ridiculous. Not compared to you for sure, but I never thought I would have so much fucking books in my house. Continue.
But no, I mean, it's just I lost my train of thought.
God the 2020 is the most sold comic books in the
that's when comics sold the most and whatever. I've never known too much about manga or anything like that because like my thing is just I've always read too many comics to ever try and squeeze any manga into it.
Okay.
So I've never really read any manga or anything like that. I remember picking up like a few Kingdom Hearts mangas like back in the day, like during the book fair and whatever. I'm like, oh, Kingdom Hearts.
Holy shit.
I know this game. I don't play it.
Me too. I never played Kingdom Hearts.
I played a little bit of Kingdom Hearts 2 for like 2 days and I was like, I don't know what the fuck is going on.
I thought you were about to give me the popular reaction. Hold up. Tell me you never played Kingdom Hearts.
I've never played Kingdom Hearts.
What? No way.
You're missing out.
No way, yo.
You need to play the mobile game. You need to play the 3DS game. You need to play the 2DS game.
Get out of here. That's the best game ever. Scene. Yeah, people go crazy over that fucking game, man. I have it. Beatrice was going to play it. And I was like, no, wait till I play it too. She was like, to this day, I haven't played that shit because he told me not to. I was like, my bad, bro. I just didn't want to be left out. But yeah, it's a legend. You know?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm surprised to hear that manga sales have gone down. I just would have assumed that if comic sales are going up here or are up here in the States, that it would be similar to our Eastern friends. But it's surprising that that's not the case. But again, I am curious about digital sales or anything like that. Like, do they have the Shonen Weekly in a digital version or something like that?
I know they do get, because I read Attack on Titan digitally, right? But I wonder as well. But these are recent articles, because when it comes to like researching sales, you want to make sure you're getting the most recent article, because if you don't, you could just be reading some 1986 shit. So I'm assuming so.
And something that's just coming to mind, I mean, I'm gonna just say it because I feel like a lot of people are probably like culprits of it, but we're not gonna point fingers or anything. But let's be real here. I feel like manga's probably like pirated a lot.
Oh, like
more than comics.
Hell yeah, bro.
More than comics. I feel like. So I think that might be a factor in terms of sales and stuff. Like people would rather just download the newest chapter.
Hashtag stop Asian hate. Javi is Javi's a hater.
Whoa,
calling Asians thieves.
Hey, whoa.
Understand the
facts. I'm just saying, if you're a real fan, you'd pay for it.
That's a fact. Unless you ain't got that much money. I don't know.
Even then, there's this great line in this one song called Blue Ribbon from Remo Drive.
I think a Blue Ribbon Crunch. I don't know why.
I mean, the song's kind of about candy.
Okay, nice.
Nice. Fucking they have a line in that song where it's like expensive hobbies for the broke boys. Whenever I think of that line, I always think about comics, because it's like, yeah, comics are fucking expensive.
Yeah, they really fucking are. Like, you don't think they are, and then you want to read the next issue and you're like, I gotta pay this and I gotta pay that, and then it's like, this is just one section of a story. Like, Jesus Christ. I don't want to be the A.M.C section, but motherfucker, goddamn, it's a lot of money. Like those comics I just mentioned, guap. But I'm willing, because you just want to read the next one ASAP, I think of a South Park episode when they pirate music online and stuff, like when LimeWire was out and stuff, and then I forget who brings them. It's like either like a fake god or something, and they bring the kids over, and they're like, you see that guy? It's like a member from Metallica. He's like, he wanted to get a gold rim around his pool. Because you pirated his music, he won't be able to do that no more. And the kids are like, no. And it's just like they went to like Bow Wow, and they were like, you see Master P right there with his son? He wanted to send him on a cruise, like this, to Dubai and some shit. But now he'll only be able to go to the beach in Costa Rica. And the kids are like, what have we done? So I think it's fucking hilarious. So, this or that. But it's fucking, it might not be the same with comic books. Who knows? But when I think of like major, like leading off comic books, that's when my pity kind of feels a little less, but it's still your art though. Your art is your art, So who knows?
Yeah. I mean, I just say that because it's like, as a creator myself, it's like, I'm especially in that mindset of like, how do people support me?
Yeah.
So that's something I think about all the time. Yeah. I mean, definitely something I want to do when I'm done with my comic is to have a free version of it. And just have another option where people can pay their own price.
Yeah.
Just because I think that's the best way to combat piracism.
No, piracy.
Piracy. I don't know what word I was trying to make up.
That's why I'm here, bro.
Yeah.
Pirate races. Are you black?
But it's crazy that we talk about piracy, because I just rewatched the first 2 Pirates of the Caribbean movies a couple weeks ago.
You mean that Free Man? I've never seen Pirates of the
Caribbean. Hey, Free Man!
Amber Heard.
Yo, Johnny Depp, come on the show.
Amber Heard, come on the show too.
No.
Never mind.
I mean, we can have her on the show, but then we'll cut her out from the episode, like how they're gonna cut her out from Aquaman 2. Boom, got him.
Oh yeah. I heard I went from 10 minutes. I felt like I sounded like Mr. Poopy Pants. Oh yeah.
Oh wait, no. How does Mr. Poopy Pants sound like?
I know he goes, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like something.
Oh, this is what it feels like to die death.
What was it in Rick and Morty when this makes me laugh every time you say it, when he's like,
he's sorry?
Yeah.
You didn't have any bad memories of him?
After he's been shot or some shit. Yeah. He said he's sorry. You didn't have any bad memories. just fucking shitting on your feelings. But we should shit on Amber Heard's bed.
Yeah.
And then Larry Nassar comes out and Josh Duggar.
Unless she's into it.
She probably is, though, to be honest with you.
That's what I'm saying.
Damn.
Like, I feel like the next thing we could probably do is light her house on fire.
Or just light her dog on fire.
Oh, whoa. What did the dog do?
I mean, socially, like, like boost their social media profile.
Oh, that's what I meant. Okay, fire emojis and shit.
Yeah,
and
like
I mean, so you want to adopt her dog?
Yeah, and then burn him. Like burn the bad things that people say about him.
Okay,
to promote his social status.
We're gonna put the ASPCA title at the end of the episode. And
Please adopt.
No animals have been harmed in the making of this.
Except
Link, get the fuck over here.
Johnny Depp dressed like a douchebag.
Oh yeah,
like that never was not a thing. Like sunglasses, handkerchiefs, cowboy attire. Your name's Johnny Depp.
he dresses like he just walks into his closet and just puts on whatever.
He just twirls.
He just twirls around like Linda Carter as Wonder Woman and just spins around into his fucking outfit. And he's like, all right, I guess I look like this today.
I look like a fucking tissue box. I don't know. People got their opinions on that whole situation. I'm happy we never covered Johnny Depp thing.
Yeah, no, honestly, I would see updates about it, and I'd be like, "That's cool."
Yeah, I'm not touching that shit with a. I don't want to touch that shit with a 6-foot boy. That shit is not interesting to me.
You know that meme of like the dude who's just like overlooking a bunch of people like over society, and he's just like naked, and he's just laying by himself, and the caption is like, "Oh, people who post on Instagram but never like
they just watch everything."
Yeah, like that. That's what I feel like with that Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. It's like I was watching it, but I couldn't give less of a shit. Really.
Man, I'm telling you, like I completely get it because of celebrityism, but it gave me very Britney Spears energy. And it's like I just care about Britney Spears for what? like for what, man? Like you didn't care about her the last 10 years. Then you hear some news. Then she puts out naked pictures, and I'm like, now she's a queen. Now she's like the emperor of crazy people. You know what I mean?
I will say, thing about Britney Spears, which is sad, she had a miscarriage recently.
Damn, why you gotta go there? That sucks for her.
I know that.
Nah, you're right though. You're right. I mean,
sucks.
Damn.
I know.
I just talk bad shit about her. You just bring me down. She's gonna be in the hospital, and then the doctor's gonna come on, and they're gonna be like, she said, sorry,
Frankie, sorry that you didn't have any bad memories of him.
Well, my opinion stands. Britney Spears, like, it's not that I don't care about her. I could care less about her. Like she's never affected my life. She has some bangers in the past. Oops, I did it again. But like,
what did you do again?
Not care for Britney Spears.
Okay.
Fucking, I've seen so many trials and people don't talk about them. When it comes to real life people dying, whatever. And then Britney Spears wants to take naked pictures, and Johnny Depp is just tight,
doodling during the trial,
doodling and shit. But apparently he was at a pub when he won the trial, and he gave a dap to somebody. He was like, "Yeah," that, or he was on stage. Who cares? Pedophiles, though, right?
And
what if the manga PPPPPP stands for pedophile?
God, it's concerning that it's selling that well. Then,
fact, number one buyers Larry Nassar and Josh Duggar. They bought all 13,000 copies.
You know what I wanted to bring up?
What's up?
Before we started the episode, but you know what I just saw in theaters? I kind of referenced it earlier.
Oh, did you see it in theaters?
I saw the new Top Gun movie.
Oh man, I've never cared for a Tom Cruise movie, but I want to see that movie.
Yo, that movie was so good.
Yeah. That's a continuation. It's like a sequel, right?
Yeah, it's a sequel. Like Lucas and I watched the first one because he came home and he's like, "Yo, I kind of want to watch a new one."
Yo, me too.
And I was like, "Yo, all right, let's fucking do it." Because I was curious about it from the get go. I was like, "It's a new Top Gun, Tom Cruise, this and that." Because say what you will about Tom Cruise,
he's short. I know he's short.
He's short. So he represents like people like me. But I feel like his later movies and his later career are pretty good.
I don't think I've ever watched anything Tom Cruise.
Really?
Yeah, and
like none of the Mission Impossible movies.
None of the Mission Impossibles for sure.
Yeah, yo, those movies are so good.
Is that the thing with the music, with the cliche?
Yeah, that's where it comes from.
The reason I didn't want to watch Top Gun at first, the new one, is because I thought it was another Mission Impossible. I'm like, bro, this is like taking.
Well, there is a new Mission Impossible, but they're ending the franchise.
Oh, okay, cool.
They're having a 2-parter thing.
I'm
pretty hype about it. I'm not gonna lie.
That gave me very Fast and Furious vibes. So I was like,
I mean, James Bond has been going on forever. What's the difference?
I did see a James Bond movie in the theater once, and I was like, I could have got popcorn in this 10-hour intro. Like, what the fuck? But I probably will go watch the Top Gun movie because I'm curious.
Yeah, because we watched the first one, and I was I was surprised by how much I liked it. I was like, oh, the first one is pretty solid. Like it holds up. Like it's definitely a bit dated in terms of the fact that it came out in '86.
Sure. Damn, that's a long time ago for a sequel. People probably died waiting for the sequel.
It's been almost 40 years.
Damn.
But yeah,
Tom Cruise is an old motherfucker.
Yeah, dude. A lot of people don't think about it, but Tom Cruise is old.
He's like 100,
and he's fucking running everywhere. Like. In every single movie of Tom Cruise, there's a single shot of him just sprinting for dear life. It happened in Top Gun Maverick too. They had a volleyball scene homage, and there's a moment where he's just sprinting on the fucking beach just because they're playing football, and he's like, "Look at me go!
I'm running. I'm Tom Cruise."
So
the next Mission Impossible is gonna be a wheelchair. It's gonna just be
he's gonna wheelchair the fat.
He's gonna start walking because it's Mission Impossible.
The only thing that isn't impossible are his legs.
Dun, 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 dun.
The music just like speeds up the faster he starts moving.
That's mad funny. I don't know. I remember when the Tom Cruise news came out about him getting tired of the film crew. Remember he was screaming at them? He was like, "We got a movie to run in." And oh, my bad, it's pretty loud. But he was like, and at first I thought he was being a little dramatic, but turns out he really wanted just everybody, like, he was like, you know how people get paid to do this job and how if you risk one contamination, like, it ruins it for everybody and this and that. I mean, I respect that. It's a little crazy of him to be screaming and shit, but
I mean, he takes the job serious. I was watching a video about Top Gun Maverick after I watched it because I was like, yo, I want to learn more about how they made this movie.
Yeah.
And all the actors and stuff were in actual, like, jets when they filmed it.
Oh, wow.
Like, none of that stuff is CGI.
Yeah,
like,
he really does all his stunts, man.
Yeah,
he's a savage motherfucker for that.
Like, he trained all the actors for 3 months for, like, the Navy stuff or whatever to fly the jets. Or they didn't fly the jets, but they needed to go through this training to even be in the jets.
Okay.
And Tom Cruise led the training for 3 months for the actors, and it's like, yo, man.
Yeah.
And another thing too is like, they kind of made this movie because of the fact that Tom Cruise has had some recent what's the word, like, experience in flying stuff in movies.
Okay.
Because there's a helicopter chase scene in the last Mission Impossible, Fallout.
Yeah.
And then he did another movie, American
With the plane,
Made.
right? Where he's hanging off a plane and stuff.
I think that's American Made.
That was crazy. Whatever. Like, he's basically off the edge of a flying vehicle and his face is like, you know, whatever, like wind in his face.
Oh yeah,
right?
That was Mission Impossible.
Like, he actually did that shit.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous, bro.
Yeah,
just do the CGI, bro. Ain't nobody gonna be like, "What a pussy." I'll hang off that plane whenever, man.
So it's fucking crazy, man. Yeah. Like, he really just does all his own shit, but they, like, because of his experience from 2 movies, they were like, yeah, we can do Top Gun 2.
Nice.
So
nice. I'll check it out. I'll check out the first one and I'll check out the second one. I just remember about the Oprah shit where he's just jumping on the couch.
Yes.
For those who don't know, because I'm sure like those things just get buried in the midst of so much stuff. Look up Tom Cruise on Oprah, right?
Yeah.
And he's just jumping on the couch. What is he yelling?
He's just like screaming yes or something. He starts like grabbing her by the hand. He's like, yeah.
That's bad funny. And Oprah's like, chill the fuck out, man.
I love the gif where like people add lightning coming out of his hands when he's doing that. It's like, yeah, ultimate power.
And on the bottom is like actual thunder used by Tom Cruise. Lightning actually compelled from the gods from Tom Cruise.
No, man, it's the Scientology that gives him the power.
Yeah, man, hell yeah. Fuck it. We about to be Scientologists?
Nah.
Okay.
Did I ever tell you about the time
they tried to recruit you?
That they tried to recruit me?
Oh, way. Okay, what happened? Tell me.
Oh my
They
God.
used to have a thing in 42nd Street, right?
That's where they tried to recruit me.
I feel like nobody remembers this big ass Scientology building.
I was fucking dropping off Anna at work that day because she used to work in one of the little food huts at Times Square.
Mm-hmm.
And
she was a hot dog vendor?
Waffles.
Oh, nice.
But fucking, I was leaving, and then these 2 people were like, "Oh, hey, do you want to take an IQ test?" And I was like, what?
That's how they get you.
I kind of do. And I was like, I've always been curious about taking an IQ test. And
nothing suspicious about that.
Like they were wearing like white shirts and stuff and whatever, look super professional. I was like, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
And like they fucking led me to the Scientology church and whatever. And as soon as I saw the building, I was like, uh-oh.
Something's up with these motherfuckers.
As soon as I saw the sign in the building, I was like, fuck, what did I do? And
even the sign Scientology?
the sign for the Scientology. But I was like, fuck, what did I do?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, maybe I can just get my IQ test and dip.
They make you hold like 2 bars or some shit, right? Like it's a little thing or what did you do? Like a physical test?
I just took out like a physical like written test. And it was like 20 questions, 200 questions, something like that. I know,
that's
wide
a
range. Wide range.
It was either 20 or 5,000 questions.
Wide range, I know. I can't remember. But that I did the questionnaire and whatever, and then some person took me over to like a room, and they're like, all right, you know, whatever, and like we'll tell you like the results of like your IQ test and whatever. If you're after this, if you're curious of watching our video and this and that, and I was like,
get the fuck out of here. Yeah,
I'm not,
because then they make you pay after a bit. From what I heard from other people talk about it, and then you do some tests where like you hold on to 2 bars, like silver bars, and they like scan how many like whatever they measure there, bro. Like to this day, do you know what the story of Scientology is? It's ridiculous.
It's like they believe in God, but I don't understand it.
They believe, and this is just my loose paraphrase. I'll send you the video. South Park did it perfectly, and so did a bunch of people. They believe that some alien life force basically put a bunch of their life forms in a volcano, and when the volcano erupted, all the like life forms and everything went outwards. And their god Xenon or something was this and that, and all these outward forces that erupted from the volcano and instilled themselves into other humans. This is like real. Like it's hilarious because when you watch the South Park episode, they depict everything like word to word, and at the bottom are subtitles, and they're like, "This is not a joke. Scientists literally believe this." Like it's ridiculous, man. Apparently Beck might be a Scientologist. I don't know if that's true or not.
Wow.
There's a whole bunch of people, but what the fuck?
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, man. It's ridiculously crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
good shit for you.
they didn't give me the results of the IQ test. The lady, she ripped up the fucking test in front of me, threw it in the trash, and said, "Okay, then you can leave."
What?
And I was so pissed. I was so pissed.
No way.
I was like, "You pieces of shit!
What a cunt!" That's crazy.
Wasting my fucking time and
That's so
energy.
Rude. They're like, "Oh, you don't want to try that coat? Oh, you good?" No IQ test for you.
I was so pissed. I was
That's
like,
hilarious.
So you know,
man.
I got a vendetta against Scientology. Fuck those guys.
I respect it. That to me is the equivalent of when they used to. They still do it, but when those people would, the young kids would hang out their CDs. And they're like, yo, here's my mixtape. And you would grab it. And then they follow you. They're like, yo, but can I get a donation or something? Can I get? You're like, nah. And he's like, I thought it was free. It's like, nah, it's not free, man. Just support me, man. You got $1. And then you just, oh, man, I feel bad for people that give him money. I just be like, yo, get your shitty CD back. I don't want that shit, bro. Fuck your music.
What I do is that when they hand me the CD, I go, and I drop it. I'm like, dude, that shit is too fire.
I'm done. And they're like, thanks, man.
And then I walk away because that's the best way to just like get away from the situation.
I just be not looking. I just be like, nah, don't touch me with that shit, bro. Lived here too long for that stuff. Apparently, before I move on, there's a lot. There's like people who dress up in like monk outfits. I don't know if you've ever seen this.
And give out the bracelets,
something like that. And then they tell you to write a number, and then whatever number you write is like, so that's your donation.
Yeah,
it's like, no, go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
I just
fucking stupid.
But people probably done it before, man. I don't know. Maybe it's those manga pirate Asians that you talk about earlier.
And, you know, talking about piracy, am I right?
Oh, shit. I didn't even make that connection. Yo, I'm an idiot. I was so talking about the pirate races. Are you Asian? So dumb. Anyways, now we're at the A.M.C section.
We're at the A.M.C section.
Now we're here. Now we're doing the damn thing. And where we are right now, Javi?
So, as you guys can already see if you're watching the visuals, but we're at the comic section. We're doing something a little different this week. Yep. Not looking at a comic book exactly, but similar to what we were just talking about.
Yep.
With piracy and mangas, we're talking about One Piece.
Yep. And One Piece is we just mentioned all this stuff, but incredibly the most popular and most sold manga ever, you know?
I mean, it's embedded in Japanese culture at this point. Like, I know that there are restaurants and foods themed around One Piece and all this stuff.
And so much content, man. So much content. And the creator is who writes and illustrates the manga is Eiichiro Oda. Mm-hmm. So, aside the story itself, this guy is pretty impressive in how he manages his manga. I think so. And I did, just as like everything else, I did a whole bunch of research. just because, I had the time. And I was like, fuck it, let me just go hard with the research for this guy. But before we talk about the creator himself, we'll talk about the comics. We read volume 1 through 3 of the hundreds of volumes there are already. 100.
A literal slice.
Yeah, bro, fucking Jesus Christ. So what do you think of it, like, off the bat?
I mean, I've always been interested by One Piece. Like, I'm not super into manga or anime or things like that. But One Piece was always something where I was like, I would actually be down to watch it.
Nice.
Or read it.
Yeah.
The thing that's always turned me off is how long it's been going on for and how much there is to sort of catch up on. So I had that in my head. And like, as soon as you said that we were reading this, I was like, I guess I have no excuse now to start reading it.
Yeah.
And pretty much by the time that I was done with volume 3, I was just kind of like, well, shit, now I just kind of want to keep reading it, because especially with the way volume 3 ends, it ends in the middle of that arc.
Exactly.
And I'm just kind of like, well, it's so unsatisfying to just end volume 3 in the beginning of this arc.
You just want to continue ASAP, right? I bought 4 and 5 as soon as I finished 3. I told myself I wouldn't. I was like, let me just wait, buy them weekly when I can. Nah, bro. Immediately, I was like, I really want to fucking read these books. And I think off the bat, what I'll say about these books is that they're so quick to read. I think so. Like, they're pretty fast to go past, right? There's a lot of beautiful artwork. And ultimately, like, I write something at the end of reading them. I'll say what I say first and afterwards, but I think I'm gonna read it. I say, overall, I really enjoy the One Piece series. They're fun, simplistic plot that slowly develops into what I can imagine as a world of story, and very interactive. It has the aura of purity, the aura of childhood, imagination, but for all ages, and blanketed by ideas such as friendship. Even with bringing in ideas like death, stealing, drinking alcohol, weapons, and more, it still is such a great story that is super quick to read and straight to the point, like Luffy. You know how he always just blatantly saying stuff out of nowhere and stuff. And I really appreciate it because, like, with reading Mr. Miracle and all these other, like, really intense comics, like Mr. Miracle being the most intense, all of them are pretty, like, just fun to read in general. But when I mentioned the Shakespeare story and the Sandman and then Mr. Miracle, like, those were, like, brain-straining things, respectfully, though, because they have real essence to it, real, what's that word? Like, not girth, but...
Depth,
yeah. And I felt like reading One Piece was like a little break just because I felt like I was watching an anime. Like, when it comes to anime, the most I've seen of one is Naruto, right? And Attack on Titan, I've only seen the first episode, but I've read about like 20 plus books of them, right? And they're so fun to read because both the artwork for like comic books that we've read and the manga we've read is very good, but it's such a silly way to present anime as well. Stuff that I've seen on the cartoons visually, like an anime, I've seen them here, and it's almost like there's no difference aside the color and everything.
Yeah, I mean, like I've seen random episodes of One Piece as a kid when it was on Adult Swim and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was familiar with the art style and the characters a little bit. And so definitely looking at the art, like. It just, I feel like it just only is a kudos to the show to sort of translate what's his name again?
Luffy. Eiichiro Oda.
Eiichiro Oda.
I'm saying it right, but the way it's spelled is EIICHIRO space Oda. ODA.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they translated Oda's art like perfectly from the manga to the anime if like this is the case. Definitely. I wonder if the mics are gonna grab this.
You think? If y'all hear some screaming people, we not doing nothing to those kids. I know we've been talking a lot of crazy shit with kids, but we ain't doing that stuff. That's New York City, baby.
But I think his artwork is so unique. Yeah. Like the way lips look and like things like that,
the eyes and just the characters.
The eyes and also something that I was thinking about too is that there's that new HBO show Our Flag Means Death, the new Taika Waititi show.
Oh, I never heard of it. Holy shit!
It's a pirate show.
Oh, nice. And I do know what you're talking about. Yeah, I've seen like maybe like the posters of it and everything.
I've been meaning to start it, but the whole show is supposed to be about like inclusion and diversity.
Yeah.
And again, I had rewatched the first 2 Pirates of the Caribbean movies like a few weeks ago, and I like even looking at the cast of those movies, like something that just kind of came to mind. And it's like pirates are I guess by nature are just inclusive people, because I feel like everyone just kind of agrees on this one thing. It's like, yeah, we're just gonna be pirates.
Yeah. Like it's just something we're gonna just follow, like this, like a culture. We'll go along with.
Like it's like its own following, and it's just no matter who you are, you can just agree on the one fact that it's like you're both dirty pirates, and that's it.
And I kind of like that because when you look at like the army and stuff and who they recruit, right? First of all, I got a big spiel with the whole army recruiting by college and stuff because you got like young kids who don't know what to do with their lives and they're like, oh,
you know what I just learned? Apparently, the first Top Gun had caused a 500% increase in Navy recruitments.
Wow, look at that! Look at fucking that. I mean, I don't know if you ever seen the commercial with Call of Duty. That's how much it looks like a Call of Duty commercial, but it's an army commercial, and it dead ass looks like the Call of Duty video game trailers.
Bruh.
It's ridiculous, bro. When I look at it, and it's like you can be this, you can be a medic, you can be a cook, but the way they make it look, it's so like you know exactly what they're doing there. Especially if you played Modern Warfare or whatever, right? So, but I think the beautiful thing about piracy, like obviously more glamorized in writings and fiction, is that it probably was for anybody dealing with anything in the past. Like, you know, you got no parents, you got like a hardship, this and that. Come to your family over here overseas, and we'll cause destruction everywhere we go.
Yeah,
and I mean, it must be crazy to be a fucking pirate, bro. Holy shit. Yeah. That shit must be really crazy.
And I think this book really like captures that.
Yeah.
Captures that really well, where it's all like the people that he does recruit by the end of the third volume have been recruited for different reasons. Yeah. It's like they none of them were recruited for like the sake of being a pirate.
Yeah. It was all kind of like outward reasons that brought them to this and together and through Luffy. I say Luffy, but I think it's Luffy. So I don't know.
I think it's Luffy.
Luffy, right? We'll say Luffy from here. But it's kind of that it's because you're not. I mean, it's because you're special in your own way that brings you to being a pirate much closer, you know. And one thing you said earlier about the translation from Japanese to English. One thing that Ichiro says is that he says to his fans, because it was like a read interview, right? Because there's a lot of interviews he has that are very scarce, like in the internet. So I found the written ones. And one thing he said is like, to my English readers, please bear with some of the things that translate from Japanese to English. They don't do it so well. So for those few things, it would only make sense to Japanese speakers. Yeah. But it's not, you know, I didn't find none of that in the first 3 books, but out of the 100 books, I'm sure.
I mean, they're like the editor's notes here and there that kind of like explain, like there's that one kid whose name is like a onion or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Like onion, carrot, and something else.
Yeah. So like they have the editors and like in Japanese, this means onion.
Oh, yeah. They do have that shit. Holy fuck. Good pickup. That's a good pickup. Holy shit.
So, you know, they do what they can to translate like even the culture as much as they can over to English. But I didn't even know this before, but apparently there are sort of official translations like these books. Yeah. But then there are also fan-made translations.
Oh, really?
Where people try and like maybe translate some of the words that would sound a little more natural in English. Yeah. Like
take it upon themselves to like better the reading experience for English speakers.
Yeah, to just add, I guess, more of like an English flow to the language.
That makes sense. I mean, that's very generous of motherfuckers. So that took a long ass time to do. Yeah. When I was buying one of these copies, that visually, if you're watching it, you can see the 3 copies here. There was an option to buy one like the one you see here, and then one to buy a paperback. And the paperback was more expensive, and it had like wear and tear. And I was wondering why that is, and I guess that's a more like genuine reading experience. Even though I know paperback is a cheaper form of printing, for what they say. Like when you buy a paperback book, it's a mass distributed book. Yeah. So I don't know what the difference was in that, but I mean, Jesus Christ, man, this guy makes so much money off these books. It's crazy.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah,
but he continues to put it out every now and then. So like going down the volume, right? So just to start out the story, for those who haven't watched One Piece, of course, spoilers or even read it, but we got Luffy, who's basically around his town, and he's with a whole bunch of pirates in the pub and this and that. And then we get this, you know, this red-haired Shanks, someone he looks up to a lot, right? Ultimately, the red-haired Shanks, he gets humiliated by this guy called the Bear. And the Bear, he has a bounty of 8 million berries on him. The currency in this town is berry. In this world is berries.
Was it berry? I thought it was belly.
No, I see berries mostly, but I could be wrong. For the currency?
Yeah.
Let me look it up.
Currency. Yeah, I mean, I could be. I don't know. I can't remember.
Let's see. It says here. Fuck. I don't want to spoil nothing by googling it. Oh, we could look it up here. Let me just put this book. But continue. Anyway, aside the bounty, what goes on?
They go in and they humiliate Shanks. And they walk out, and Shanks and the rest of them just kind of laugh about it.
Yeah.
And Luffy gets really upset about that and kind of calls out Shanks for like being like
defenseless, right?
Defenseless and like not having any pride and whatever. Not being a man,
not being a pirate. Yeah, that ass.
But pretty much the pirates, Shanks and his pirate crew go off, and they have a whole thing of Luffy of like, don't worry, like one day you'll go out to sea and whatever. Like Shanks is very like cheek and tongue with Luffy and whatever.
It is Barry, so it's just in right here.
Okay,
but the artwork is just so cool. Sorry.
But yeah, and while they're gone, the bear dude and his people show up again at the bar. Yeah, while Luffy's there, and
Shanks tells Luffy he can't be a pirate because he can't swim as well. Yeah, that's always been a thing with Luffy.
And fucking wait, does this happen already where he eats the fruit?
So yeah, when he comes back to the tavern, that where he was humiliated, basically Luffy says to, after he talks to Shanks, he says, I want a new role model. Like, you're basically somebody that you humiliated, this and that. And yeah, no, it is when he ate the fruit.
Yeah, it's like they're all chilling and stuff, and he's just eating the fruit, and everyone's like,
what are you doing?
Look at our treasure. Yeah. And they're like, oh, what do you mean what treasure?
Shanks' treasure type shit.
Yeah, and then they show a picture of the treasure, and they're like, oh, Luffy's like, I ate that.
The gum fruit. The fruit of the devil.
And that the whole premise behind the devil's like fruit in One Piece is that each fruit provides a different power to the person, but it prevents them from swimming anymore. Which is huge in this world where
you want to be a pirate and shit. Yeah. I didn't realize how important it was, but nah, that's a fucking big deal right there.
Yeah. And so Luffy, who is just being ridiculed that he'll never be able to swim and stuff, who was saying he was going to swim, has now eaten it and can't swim anymore, but has become a rubber man.
Yeah, man. And
he's become Mr. Fantastic.
Basically, that's the biggest thing about the whole thing. And fucking, so now, let's see, the next day or something, the bear guy comes back with his crew, and they basically pick on Luffy, and they kind of put him on the floor and they kick him, and Shanks see this. Shanks and his crew see this, and they're like, all right, now we gotta, I like this kid, I don't want you to fuck with him. And then he really just goes off, and they just defeat the whole crew except the bear, the main guy, and the bear escapes. And now, how can I say, Shanks gives Luffy his hat. Right?
Yeah, his straw hat.
And he's like, when you become a pirate, give it back to me. Bless you, Link. And let's see.
And it did like pretty much the first chapter, I guess, is just Luffy's like origin story, pretty much.
And from what I saw on the show, like I didn't watch the show at all yet, just from what I've read in the interview, it doesn't really follow this order. It kind of skips to we're about to talk to the lady pirate, Alvida. The one who comes. So after this whole scenario happens, we cut to a different ship where the pirate Iron Mace Alvida, who's this huge lady, and she treats her crew terribly. Basically, after Luffy discovers this ship, right? He defeats her, right? And
I mean, like he meets that one dude with the glasses, Kobe.
He's like a squeamish one who has hopes of being in the Navy, even though he's so like frail.
Yeah, like he
scared.
ended up on this chick's boat like 2 years ago and has been kind of imprisoned since. Yeah, and he's been building a boat secretly on the side and whatever. And once he Luffy crashes his ship because Luffy goes out. Well, we skip that there's a time jump. Oh yeah. So after the origin, there's like a time jump.
10 years later type shit, right?
Yeah. And Luffy's like older and whatever, and he's going out on his like first pirate adventure in just a little like raft.
You're right. What we did skip beforehand, that's my bad, is that Luffy gets saved by Shanks and the sea with the big monster, right?
Does that happen?
Yeah. When sorry, folks. But after he gets beat up, Luffy gets like kind of kidnapped or taken from the guy.
Oh, that's right.
And so the bear basically to get
because he can't swim, bear throws him in the water and stuff to drown.
And then somebody comes to save Luffy, and it's Shanks. Yeah. And Shanks, in the midst of saving Luffy, has to defeat a big fish who eats the bear who originally kidnapped Luffy, and loses his arm in the process. Yeah. And that's why he gives him the hat, because he has to venture out to sea regardless, because Shanks is badass like that. you know. And then we get back to the Kobe ship.
Yeah, we get to the time jump. Luffy goes out on his first ship, which is just a literal raft. It's just him, and he gets like sucked into a whirlpool and gets washed ashore onto this chick's boat.
Yep.
And then that's when he meets Kobe. Kobe's like, "Oh, if you're trying to leave, I got this boat that I've been building. I'm too pussy to leave.
Yeah,
but you can leave." And while they're at the boat, they get caught by the big chick, and that's when Luffy like starts fighting her
and goes off. He just defeats her ass real quick.
Yeah, they he says like no shotgun or something like that.
Yeah.
My friends and I during the pandemic we did a My Hero RP. Okay. And we had so much fun doing that we were going to do a One Piece RP, even though I had never read or watched any of it. So I did a lot of research on the show and the books and stuff. So I learned about how everyone has kind of like their special moves where they say things like that. So
but right before they hit somebody, like, you know, so I had, gum this or this.
Yeah.
You know?
So I had to like create my own little things for my character. Nice. My character's name was Scampini Otoro.
Scampini, that's a pretty dope name. That's a pretty dope name.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, what happens from there? He's able to defeat her, and Kobe's
inspired by Luffy's determination. Like he sees basically Luffy says, "I'm gonna be king of the pirates. I'm gonna do it no matter what. I'm gonna go to the Grand Line and get the treasure that's called One Piece." And this inspires Kobe, and they basically can join forces. And later on, you know, to like I don't like not going too in detail, they meet Roronoa Zolo. The swordsman who yields 3 swords and hates pirates. He's in prison, and with the help of Luffy and Kobe, they're able to help. I call him Zolo. And
was it Zolo or Zoro?
Zolo, from what I read. But
damn, I thought it was Zoro.
Let me check again to be sure. But they help him out, and look, I almost read wrong because her manga you read from right to left. Yeah, and I opened that shit left to right.
That's something I forgot to mention, but again, I'm like, since being a comic book reader, that's something that I mean, I read it digitally. I read it digitally, so nice. Like it was already in order for me, so I didn't have to think about which way I held the book.
So digitally it kind of just does it for you. You don't have to go from right to left.
Yeah, like it's just already in order for you.
Nice. Okay.
But something that I still had to think about was to read from right to left. And because
so it gave you the form of going from left to right, but you still had to read it right to left to turn the pages.
Yeah,
interesting.
And like
that could be confusing.
Yeah, it was pretty confusing at first. I was like, oh man, this is so weird. Like I was reading, I was like, none of this makes sense. This all sounds like a bunch of gibberish. And then it hit me by like page 6 or 7. And I was like, oh,
that's funny as fuck.
I'm reading it backwards. That's crazy. Yeah, no, that's something I just wasn't used to, and like that I had to like adjust myself pretty early on. But I mean, even to that regard, like it was just interesting for me, like who I try and study like panel composition and comics and stuff like that. So I was really doing that with this book as well, where I was remembering how certain creators that I've listened to before have talked about how they set up a panel to go from left to right because that's how comics work. But I was very clearly seeing the panels go from right to left in this, where when people would get shot or hit or whatever, like the stretch would happen from right to left.
And then you saw like that's how I have to read that way and everything.
Yeah, and it's just I just thought that's interesting because it's like it's just how you get to completely rewire your brain to just think that way.
That's when actually I remember reading Court of Owls, and the first one, that's what it's called, right? Court of Owls. And I remember I had to twist the pages, like I had to twist the book entirely and be like, what the fuck is happening? But it added on to basically like you're twisting the book, but it's a twisted story, you know. It's just, everything's warped, you know. And one thing that Ichiro Oda said is that they asked him, what do you think about digital prints of your book being out? So I'm kind of happy you read it digitally. He said, I don't mind if they're printed out digitally. He just says, I hope that the translation is done in terms of, in regards to not ruining the reading experience. He's like, as long as that's done, I'm okay with it. He's a very like not like I'm sure he's strict in how he works because he has a very rigid schedule, but he's very open to letting others do the work for him in terms of other methods of like, you know, reading. So digital artwork or his animations, he says, as long as the people love the work that they do, I don't mind them working with my stuff. But he's a very hard worker. So that's pretty dope that you read it all the way. Because when you read the book, I don't know if it's in the digital one, but when you start when you hold one of these manga books like in a traditional American way, like any book or comic book, if you open it from left to right, it says stop. You're reading this the wrong way.
Yeah.
Have you seen it in this book and everything?
It's like that digitally as well.
And that's fucking awesome, man. And it's cool because it's a reminder of like, oh wait, hold on, you're absolutely right. Like you have to read this a different way of thing. And in between the stories and stuff, I love that he throws in little sections of his own life in there. Mm-hmm. Like he talks about what inspired him to make it, which is Vicky,
like Vikings and stuff.
He used to watch a show called Vicky the Viking that made him think about, like, he really enjoyed the show, and that's what led to One Piece. He said without that there would be no One Piece. Also Dragon Ball Z is a big fan of. He does little things where, I think, and what he says himself is that he makes something that he would want a kid version of himself to read. Mm-hmm. And what I like that he's done is that he shows you little methods of how to draw pirate flags, gives you some history on the Vikings and the pirates. And at the end of some books, he even has cutouts that you can photocopy and like construct a Luffy yourself.
Oh, nice.
Using the cutout of the pages. So I think it's very like generous to not even just kids, just to anybody like who's involved with the manga, which is a shitload of people apparently. You know,
yeah,
so
I feel like another creator that's sort of in a similar vein to Oda is George R.R. Martin.
Okay.
The guy who did Game of Thrones. Just because from what I understand of how like One Piece goes on, it just gets like super complex in terms of its storytelling.
I believe it, man.
How there will be callbacks to things from like arcs ago and whatever the case is, and something comes into play last second that you didn't expect, and just shit like that, where it's very similar to sort of Game of Thrones and stuff,
like
where
devil in the detail type shit.
Yeah, where it's just everything's so meticulously planned and just whatever the case is. Obviously, the big difference is that Oda's fucking still making them.
Yeah, man.
While Martin hasn't finished it.
Yeah,
but
crazy motherfucker.
But yeah, I feel like that's a pretty good comparison to make too. But
nice.
Where were we? They get to Zolo.
And essentially, like, again, so we don't like just spend the whole time this and that. Like, he's in prison. He's lied to, saying that he'll be released in a month by Captain Morgan.
He's being imprisoned by the Navy.
Yeah. And the son is just mistreating him, saying like, "Nah, we'll let you out in a month." He just has to stay tied up to a pole. Luffy finds out about this, and Kobe also, and they save him. They get his swords, and you know, while Zolo almost dies, he tells himself, almost like in an anime fashion, he's like, "I can't die right now." Like, and there's a flashback, and ultimately his goal, we were talking about earlier, what makes them individual, is that Zolo needs to be his rival Kuina. Like Kuina in a swords match, because she would always defeat him in a swords match. So his ultimate goal is to find her and defeat her in a swords match, you know, in the ultimate battle of swords. And
I just think it's so funny that he has 3 swords and will hold the 3rd sword in his mouth.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck, bro? It's dope though, like how he's jumping. It's that shit must hurt your teeth. And yeah, they free Zolo. They fuck up the son and the captain, all this stuff like that for being dickheads. And then we meet Nami, who's actually, that's what he named his daughter, the creator. Yeah, he named his daughter Nami. And she's a navigator who steals treasure from pirates.
Oh, real quick. Something too is that as we see the flashback with Zolo, is that the page will
go black, right?
Will go black, which kind of brought me back to Mr. Miracle of like sort of the
evil, like, no, is it like Earth and
Apocalypse and stuff, where it's kind of the panel language or the page language.
Yeah. And I like how there's no real how can I say it? There's no like message for you to understand that. You just kind of have to grasp that. And because of the artwork, it kind of does that for you. You're like, wait, what is, like, if you were, I guess if it was difficult to read, you'd be like, wait, where am I right now? What's happening right now? But with that black, and it kind of has these little white, like this striped strains on the sides, kind of explaining a throwback or whatever, a flashback and stuff. And I mean, that's crazy how you can pick up on visual cues, like just reading a comic book in general, you know, like just, it's dope. It's a good trick on the brain.
It's smart.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And after meeting Nami, that's when basically the first volume finishes off. And it goes off on those cliffhangers that make you want to just pick up the next one. It's like, what is happening, man? And so we get to volume 2. This is where they meet Buggy the Clown and his crew, right?
And they finish up everything going on with Zolo and stuff in the Navy there. fucking.
They leave behind Kobe, right?
They leave behind Kobe, who the Navy. They find out that the guy that Luffy fights, sort of leader of that division of the Navy, is just a huge dickbag.
Yeah,
and once he was defeated, the rest of the Navy was like, "Oh, finally,
we got rid of this asshole."
Yeah, so Kobe was like, "Oh, like great, the Navy aren't just a bunch of pieces of shit. Yeah. It was just that one guy." So he's like, "Nice, I'm gonna join the Navy."
And when they're leaving, he's like, "Technically speaking, if we're not supposed to be seen with Luffy because you're a pirate, we arrest all pirates, but we'll give an exception this time. But get out of here."
Yeah, and like there's a cool little moment when they're leaving. Kobe like goes out and like salutes him, and like the rest of the Navy salutes him. It's like, yeah, nice.
Yeah, man, it's cool, man.
But Nami leaves with them, but she like is very she don't
want to be a pirate.
Yeah, she's very I can't remember the word.
Empathetic?
Whatever. Not empathetic. I don't know.
Something.
She's like putting a lot of attention to the idea that she's not going to be a pirate.
She's like, "Fuck that shit. Fuck your piracy. Fuck your mom."
She's like, I'm just going with you guys to go to the Grand Line so I can rob all these pirates and stuff.
Her goal is to make. Well, it says it in the second book, but her goal is to make 100 million berries to buy a village. And Zolo was opposed to being a pirate too, but after seeing Luffy save him, he was like, "All right, you're not so bad."
Yeah.
So in the second book, Zolo and Luffy get separated, and now it's just Luffy and Nami, and then Zolo separated in the midst of the seas. Nami steals the map from the Buggy the Clown's crew, and that map has, it leads you to treasure and all that stuff,
Leads to the Grand Line.
The Grand Line, which is where everybody wants to go. All the pirates want to be, make that money. And again, Nami, the reason she wants to buy a village that's worth 100 million berries kind of disclosed, but she hates pirates. But she'll only team up with them to join. She'll only team up for the treasure that she'll get if she does. What's up?
My brother just came in.
Yeah. And what happened? So she finds Buggy's crew. She gets them drunk, and she tries to distract them so she can steal the treasure map. Nami, right? And so what makes Buggy's crew so dangerous is that he shoots cannons called special buggy balls, and them shits are crazy. They just destroy chunks of neighborhood in a single blast.
Yeah.
Right? And in the midst of everything, Nami successfully steals the map, right? Or she's able to steal the map and distract them, but Luffy gets trapped in the cage.
It's a pretty cool fight.
This is like right before the fight.
Yeah, I jumped ahead a little bit to the fight that happens.
It is a cool ass fight though, for sure.
But yeah, he gets trapped in the cage, and this book has the real fucking sad story about the dog.
Yo, the dog shit is ridiculous, man. Choo Choo, that's the name of the dog. Right before that, Captain Buggy is mad sensitive about his nose because he looks like a clown, Buggy the clown. So if you say anything about his nose, he's like, "What the fuck did you just say?" And then that's when we get to the fight where he basically separates his body parts. Because what fruit did he eat? He Chop Chop Man.
Something like that.
Chop Chop fruit. And Nami helps Luffy as much as she can, but she can't get him out the cage. But as soon as Zolo comes, even though he's been cut bad by Buggy the Clown in the midst of he fought two people, right?
Zolo, from the when they get separated, he ends up finding like the people that Nami crossed, like the pirates that Nami crossed.
Yeah.
And he uses those pirates to help him get to where they are and stuff.
To find Luffy and everybody.
Yeah,
right?
so it's like, everything's connected. They're all going to the same spot and everything.
Yeah, man. And well, essentially, Luffy gets out of the cage, but he's still stuck in the little lock, right?
He gets out of the cage because a fucking tiger
just smashes it type shit, right?
Like destroys it open because one of Buggy's dudes goes out who's just like this tiger dude who just rides his tiger.
It's like this circus theme. It's Moji the lion tamer, and then later on Kobai
I didn't even make the circus connection.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. There's supposed to be a third one, but apparently he didn't include it in the book. So it's Moji the lion tamer and Kobaji the acrobat. The Choo Choo story, the dog story, is sad as fuck. I have it right here. Just because it's so dope that they put that in there, but it really hits the feels, bro.
Yeah.
It hits the fucking feels.
I was like, oh man, is this fucking dog gonna die?
Yeah,
like,
bro.
what?
And
it shows the dog getting hit and stuff, and I was like, oh, my heart.
And apparently, I thought it was worth mentioning. The dog is there protecting this pet food store, and the owners they come across a dog, and the dog bites Luffy immediately, and they're like, "What the fuck, dog? Why you bit me?" And then the mayor comes and he explains that basically the dog had an owner, and the owner took very good care of him, but then he got sick, so he went outwards to do something and eventually passed away.
Yeah.
But every day the dog stands there and waiting for the owner to come back, protecting the store. And one of the most sad shit is when the mayor is like, you know what I think? I think the dog knows for sure that his owner's dead, but it's the last piece he has of him, so he's gonna protect it with all his life.
Mm-hmm.
Shit is sad, man. Shit is really like, and I feel like in the anime they'll do that so much more, like, you know, with music and emotion and sound. But even just reading it, it really sucks.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought it was very well done.
Yeah, I mean, something that what I think is also cool about the book is that with Kobe and stuff, it's just clear, like off the bat, this book just has sort of this friends along the way adventure
for sure.
Like Kobe was just sort of in and out of the story. Like he wasn't around for a long time, and it's sort of these vignettes of characters that we get to meet, which is sort of similar to the Sandman.
Yeah. Because I thought Kobe was going to be in the book for the rest of the endeavor.
Yeah, so did I. Mm-hmm. And so it's just by the time he left, that's when I was kind of like, oh, is this just how it's going to be, or like people are just gonna like come in and out and whatever. Yeah. And so when the dog story came up, I was like, oh, so this is like what's sort of like the like town character for this book. Yeah.
And every town gets a little individual theme and characters. And I mean, damn, man, to think about 100 volumes worth of worlds, that's fucking crazy, man. But the sea is huge.
Yeah.
And then the fight goes on, and the fight is really well done. Mm-hmm. And it's done so well where like it begins, I mean, they're going back and forth. Buggy the Clown, using his chop ability, is able to separate his body, and so his arms can go one place, his legs go the other, his face is just looking at him the whole time and shit like that, and he uses knives and the cannons, but they fight, and then it just cliffhanger.
And why during that fight, that's when Nami's able to get the map and stuff. Mm-hmm.
And then motherfucking cliffhanger, which I read this book on the plane coming back from Utah. Like, just I had to. And then we get to the third book. And Buggy and Luffy, oops, they have a back and forth battle, and Luffy is in danger of getting cut by Buggy the Clown's blades. So that's one little vulnerability of Luffy, right? The blades being able to cut him, regardless of, he can't get killed by bullets, cannons, nothing, because he just repels them through his rubberness. And then Buggy mentioned how he knows Shanks, little throwback story and shit like that. The way he knows them is essentially Buggy and Shanks were on the ship together, and they were all training pirates. You know, they're all pirates in training.
I mean, they were just part of another pirate's crew,
pretty much, right, and everything.
Yeah,
but they were much younger.
Yeah,
and they had found the fruit, the devil fruit, and everything.
Well, they found the fruit. But Buggy had found the map to something,
and he hid it from everybody,
and he hid it from everyone, and as soon as he heard about the fruit, he thought about a way that he could be able to sell off the fruit and still have the treasure map to himself. And so he fakes eating the fruit by just fetching it out with a fake fruit,
and then Shanks sneaks up on him and he's like, oh shit.
Yeah, he's like holding the real fruit, and Shanks like sneaks up on him and he just swallows it entirely.
Yeah.
And he's like, you idiot. And it's so like comically drawn and stuff. It's pretty well done.
And for no reason, he's getting mad at no reason, but he's being a selfish asshole trying to steal the treasure from everybody.
Yeah.
And apparently the fruit itself in the book is worth up to 100 million berries. That's a shitload of berries. And then,
oop.
Oh shit.
Oh,
we got technology. we got brothers walking in technology.
Damn.
Respectfully. But then after he eats the fruit, he drops the treasure map in the ocean, right? And because he can't swim no more, he doesn't realize that immediately. So Buggy jumps in after eating the fruit, and he's drowning, and Shanks saves his life. So for some reason, Buggy gets mad at this. He gets mad at him.
He's like, Shanks ruined my life. Shanks took my opportunity.
Like, bro, he saved your ass. He's like, nah, I lost my fruit and I lost my map because of him. He's like, all right, you could have lost your life or whatever. And it's funny, man, because it does always maintain its silliness, because we go back from the flashback to the fight with Luffy and Buggy. And one of the methods of defeating Buggy was basically grabbing his feet and just tickling the bottom of his feet. Yep. Fucking and this guy's just laughing, and I thought that was one of the cooler images drawn, because when he's laughing, he also has the face of a clown, so you just get this eerie, like weird look of a clown laughing uncontrollably. Thought it was really well done. I mean, the artist is the writer and the writer is the artist. That's incredible, man. It's incredible shit.
He has full like creative control. He can make it however he wants.
Hell yeah, bro. And
I mean, I say that, but then he has an editor, which clearly had their own ideas from what we saw.
And he has a very small group of assistants. Like, man, when I tell you all these facts about this guy, it's ridiculous. Like, it's almost non-human the way this guy works. So yeah, he defeats him by tickling his feet, and then Nami ties up the body parts together so he can't reassemble his body, which is the biggest danger of the chop fruit.
And he just fucking knocks him the fuck out.
Fucking big ass punch. Assaults this man. And then the mayor wakes up. He thanks everybody. The village people wanted to
well, the village people chase him off because Luffy like admits like, yeah, I knocked him out.
And Luffy's honest as fuck. There's nothing to be hidden from
blunt,
Luffy.
Like he's just like, he doesn't give a fuck.
They're like, don't say that shit. And he's like, what?
Yeah, he's like, why would I not?
Shit. Yeah, man. And but the mayor thanks them. He calls off all the village people and he's like, no, we're gonna thank them. And Choo Choo the dog even stops the village people from chasing
them. Yeah,
Choo Choo is the best dog in the world aside from Link. And
watch
and my homie Peanut. Facts. And the interesting thing is that they were still able to take Buggy the Clown's 10 million berries, the treasure, right, aside the map, and because they had the money and the town was destroyed because of the fight, Luffy leaves the money behind.
Yeah.
And Nami gets upset at that. She's like, what the fuck? I'm trying to make some money myself. But he was like, if you really want to, go back and get it. And she kind of says, nah, I'm not going to do that stuff. And both of their goals are kind of hindered, but they go on.
Yeah.
And
also by this point, they kind of have like a bigger boat too.
Yeah.
Because something that I know from seeing like random episodes of the show is that at a certain point, like Luffy has like a full on ship. Yeah.
A crew and everything. And shit like that.
So it's like, it's crazy to look at the very beginning of this and see how small it starts.
I mean, the same thing about the story itself, man. The story is just so minor, but bro, it just expands crazy. And being that they have such a small ship, they're saying we don't have enough materials to go further into this world of treasure hunting. We got to gather some materials. So they stop by an island.
And this chapter is definitely sort of like a filler chapter.
No doubt, right? No doubt. And it's still very fun, very fun. But you're right, because once we get into the island, it starts off with crossbred animals, like a lion pig, a snake rabbit. And they meet the keeper of the island called Gaiman, right? And he's been basically stuck in the chest for so long, for 20 years, that he's molded to the chest shape. So his head is sticking out of a treasure chest.
Yeah, he just looks like a little like
fucking
creature.
Hilarious, bro. And he mentions that he talks a little more about the Grand Line, which is the ultimate goal. That it's mentioned as the pirates' graveyard, where pirates who have returned from there are never the same. And when on the island, on a throwback as well, represented by the pages darkened and stuff, he was kind of selfish like Buggy. They went to when he was younger and was able to walk freely, not stuck in a box, they found a big pit of treasure. And he hid that from everybody and the crew sailed off, but he fell into the pit, ended up falling into a treasure chest and stayed there forever. But he would never tell nobody that came because he didn't want nobody to find the treasure that he found first.
Yeah.
And that ended up being nothing in there, which is kind of tragic, but kind of,
jokes on him.
Basically. And then we get to this last part with Usopp and his crew of kids, Pepper, Onion, and Carrot. You want to take it off from there?
Yeah, they get to this new town, and there's this dude, Usopp, who his name, I think the editor's notes said that is kind of something about like his name is the author's name of who wrote The Boy Who Cried Wolf.
Oh, wow, man, I completely ignored that, but it definitely like here... it won't really matter until we say it, but the end chapter has essence of Romeo and Juliet and The Boy Who Cried Wolf. But that was mentioned before and everything, because Kaya and we'll get into that a bit.
Yeah, but so
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so off the bat, you see how he's running to town. He's like, pirates are coming, and everyone's like, what? And they start throwing shit at him. He's like, you fucking idiot, you lying piece of shit,
you piece of shit. And
he's just like, I'm that guy.
Yeah,
I'm that guy. What can you do?
And
fucking Luffy and whatnot, they get there, and Usopp's one of the kids that is part of Usopp's crew lets him know. So Usopp and the kids go to check them out when they're like reaching shore.
Yeah.
And fucking they're like, oh shit, it's actually pirates. Like, oh fuck. Like, what are we gonna do? And they see them and Usopp's like, what? Oh fuck, you caught me red-handed.
Yeah.
And they kind of like have a little back and forth and whatever. Not too much happens in that moment, but Usopp leaves.
And he brags himself to be this great pirate as well. Like, Usopp is a continuous liar, but he also is, in the eyes of only those townspeople, the ones that trust him at least, that he's a great pirate.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem like it, really. Yeah,
they go to have dinner or something, or lunch or something, and they're eating in there, and that's when he's saying all that stuff. And then he leaves and to go talk to basically Juliet.
Yeah, exactly. And Usopp in this sense is Romeo, and her name's Kaya, right? And ultimately, like, it's just Kaya is this sick, rich. What does it mean when you lose your parents?
Orphan.
Who's being taken care of a butler who apparently was, only doing it as a promise to the father that saved his life, essentially. And, Usopp sneaks into there because the name of the butler is Kalidor. And Kalidor doesn't like Usopp. He thinks that Usopp is the filthy pirate and trash. And it's kind of really nice that Usopp goes to see Kaya just to tell the lies that he always tells, but she finds it entertaining because it pretty much is the best part of her day.
Yeah,
he gets to tell her like, "Oh yeah, I slayed this giant goldfish that people are still eating to this day," and she's just laughing the whole time and enjoying it. But when Kalidor sees this, he's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And they get really upset. He just speaks bad about him and his father, and he says that his father was never a pirate, even though Usopp desperately, like, he really knows that his father was a pirate. And he says, "Ever anything I say, what I know for sure is that my father was a pirate."
Well, I don't think he tries to deny that his father was a pirate. He just says that
you're a filthy pirate, right?
Yeah, that like you're the son of a filthy pirate.
Okay.
And that's when he's like, "Well, I'm proud to be his son. Yeah. I'm proud to be the son of a pirate."
And then he gets Usopp so like mad that he punches Kalidor.
And he's like, "Oh, look at that! You resort to violence."
Yeah, just like,
and you're like, "Bitch, I'm about to fucking smack you."
Yeah, man. And now we meet and we're getting close to the end of the third book, Django, which is cool because I watched Django like 2 days ago, drunk as fuck. We meet Django the hypnotist, which I love how his character is designed.
And the way he's introduced, just
walking backwards.
The kid comes in. This man, he's walking backwards into town.
He always does that shit. He like, we'll see him in a bit. He's gonna come and scream and saying some shit in a bit. And ultimately, we find out that Django and Kalidor are plotting to kill Kaya in order for Kalidor to inherit the inheritance, and that Kalidor is actually Captain Kura, who's a pirate. And the operation is called Murder Miss Kaya. And the way they want to do it is by making Django hypnotizing Kaya into writing the will to Kura, the captain that he was formerly known as Kalidor, and then making the death seem like an accident.
Yeah.
So that's when it gets a little like, oh shit, like this is a little intense now because now we're talking about death. And again, it's a very, I think, kid-friendly book, but it's still a pretty good read in terms of storyline. Like it matures in its own way. And that's the cliffhanger for that one. So, I mean, we got through the volumes and everything. And
yeah, it's just like, it just ends in the middle of the arc. And it's so frustrating when it's just kind of like, well, damn. Like, because we see Django makes Luffy, because Luffy and Usopp overhear this entire exposition happen. And they get caught. And Django makes Luffy fall down from the cliff that they're listening from, and Luffy gets knocked out, and they think that his neck is broken. They don't know he's
rubber yet.
Yeah, and Usopp goes to try and like warn the town about pirates coming, and nobody believes him.
He even tells Kura and Django, he's like, Kura's like, go ahead, go tell everybody, but nobody's gonna believe you anyway.
Yeah,
and that's crazy, man. Like that's such a good, like coming around of the story where that ass, like nobody's gonna believe it. And he says, you guys are all gonna get murdered tomorrow and this is gonna take over the town. And they're like, oh, he's at it again. And one of them even says, it's getting kind of old now.
Yeah.
And
And then it just kind of ends on that note of just like, well, pirates are coming to town. Luffy's like still knocked out, and that's that.
I think what Eiichiro Oda does really good is cliffhangers, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he really wants you to get the next book. And man, let me just tell you about this, man. So I'm gonna talk a little about himself, right? Because I looked up a whole bunch of shit, and I'll start off with one thing from an interview. A lot of his video interviews they're scarce on the internet. You can't really find these shits as much as you want to, but there's thegrandline.com, right? And all his verbal interviews are listed. And it's some old school website, like some Reddit shit, where you just read his interview the whole time. So I picked out a couple of things from some of the interviews, and you got to read his, even though they're translated, you got to read him in a more less dramatic way. Because when I watched the Japanese interview, it was so dramatic. Like, they were like, "Oh my God, it's Eiichiro Ida." Like, "Oh, we only have so much time," and there's such a, and it was such praise. He didn't even want to be filmed in the face. So when the interview goes on in YouTube, it's only from the chest down. They never film his face.
Interesting.
Yeah. They asked him a question. They say, "Do you think development might be one of the hidden themes of the film?" He says, quote, "This is just how I am. I don't put things like messages in my work." And what I highlight is, he says, "For me, a theme is a tool to tie a piece of work together. And I don't deliberately attempt to make anyone come away thinking about anything. Instead, I was always trying to draw about what the possibilities of development can hold. And it's the same for the comic too." He continues to say, "I want to be like that, or it'd be cool if I could do that, are basic elements of manga. And when people see those kinds of images, it's nothing short of thrilling. It's the same way with the characters who show up in the story. Every time I come up with them, I think," quote, well, he's quoting himself, "if I live on the island, what kinds of things would I want to be thinking about? It's possible that's a theme, whether or not people can adapt to the surroundings or not." So, again, I think that kind of comes back to that simplisticness, where he's not trying to be so deep with it. Like, he's just trying to portray a story. And I mean, you can make messages and interpret however. The reader and the viewer is always going to be the interpreter of the art. But I very much like that, because he kind of sticks with that stance the whole way, no matter how this book just endures in terms of volumes and progression, right? In Japan, he's referred to as Oda Sensei.
Nice.
And he said that he's embarrassed to be called Sensei, but he's grateful. So, as you know,
he's very humble, clearly.
Yeah. But motherfucker, Sensei. So Eiichiro Oda is a Japanese manga artist and the creator of One Piece, right? With 500 million copies selling. He was born in January 1st, 1975. It says here he's 47 years old. I hope that's accurate. His wife is Chiaki Inaba. He's a mandala or manga creator. In 1992, his manga Wanted won second place, and he got a Tezuka Award for his manga Wanted. He was 17 years old. Again, One Piece is the best-selling manga series of all time. And after he won the Tezuka Award for his manga Wanted, he won the Hopstep Award for New Manga Artist. At age 4, he knew he wanted to write mangas. And his reason was so he wouldn't have to have a real job. That's his reasoning. OD, right? There's a lot of fans worry about his health. And he's a big chain smoker. A lot of fans believe that he does this because of the stress it takes to write. Again, like I said earlier, he prefers working with as little amount of assistance as possible, and he draws pages back to back. He does not believe in copying and pasting backgrounds. So he'll like this. So what he draws includes the setting and the background. He says that if he needs to draw the background all over again for the next panel, he's gonna do it again, just because he wants it that way. Apparently,
that's kind of what I do.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's the best way to do it. But imagine all these fucking books, you know. But if that's what you want, the creator knows best. I think so. You know, he wakes up at 5 a.m. and works until 2 a.m.
God damn.
He sleeps for 3 hours. Now that's a fact that's spread around the YouTube videos, and like when you look up like 10 interesting facts about Eiichiro Oda. But in one of the written interviews, they ask him, around what time do you usually get up and go to bed? And he says, depends on what I feel like. So I wonder how much truth there is to like myth to fact and this and that. But what if you had to distribute a book, right? Your comic and stuff, and you had to do like 50 copies and let's say like 150 copies. Well, you could just print them at that point, right?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about it. I was like, how the fuck do you do that? But I guess it's all about passion at that point. Mm-hmm. Do they do that for like Batman comics and stuff like that? Like, do they copy and paste? Or it all depends?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on the artist.
On the artist, right?
Like, every artist has their own like style preference. Or an approach and stuff. So it just depends on the artist.
That's fair. Where he lives is his workplace. His family visits him where he lives, which is his workplace. So he doesn't live with his family. He spends 1 day with them without working. And then he spends 3 days sketching and 3 days working on the final piece, like the book itself coming out. He's inspired by Dragon Ball Z incredibly. The creator of Dragon Ball Z is Akira Toriyama. Basically, without Dragon Ball and Vicky the Viking, there'd be no One Piece. At one point of his life, 100+ emails were sent to him containing death threats. The person who sent them was arrested in 2009, and she was the husband of a former assistant who was dismissed by Oda. So that's just something interesting. Somebody who's written for Naruto, Kishimoto, he considers him a rival and a friend.
Okay.
So somebody, you know, that he competes with and stuff. In the future, he wants to write a future robot manga or just short story mangas, depending.
A future robot manga?
Yeah, like in his office, he has a shark over his toilet, and he has a big Terminator statue.
I was gonna say the future robot thing makes me think of RoboCop.
Pretty much, I would assume that's what it's gonna do in the future. But I would wonder because for his shit, I would read whatever he puts out in terms of whatever's after that. I actually want to read the Wanted stuff that he won the award for. So now we get to the money stuff, right? He earns 2 billion yen every year, particularly $20 million US in royalties because of his books every year. So he's set for life.
Yeah.
Like he's been set for life. At one point he was hospitalized and the release of One Piece was delayed 2 weeks. He apologized for this. And he said, quote, "I messed up. I put up with my illness for too long. My condition got worse. I apologize to all the readers who are looking forward to their next chapter. I will ask to all the Straw Hats who are really looking forward to wreaking some havoc, but I am currently going through some painful treatment. The story was just about to make a new turn, so I really wanted you all to read the next chapters as soon as possible. I know how long 2 weeks can feel to all the shonen out there, but please just wait a little longer." When he was bedridden in the hospital, he was drawing sketches for One Piece. That's how dedicated this motherfucker is.
What a hardworking man.
Bro, just take a break, motherfucker. But no, for sure, like, you know, like, and I don't know how to incorporate this, but like, you know, Japanese culture, how serious they take their jobs. Like, when Brian, our friend Brian, when he was in Japan, he would say, like, Japanese bartenders really take care of their place. Like, you don't just walk in and be like, "Yeah, what you want?" Like, they'll greet you, they say hello, like, what do you want exactly? They'll make sure everything looks clean, like, everything done to the T. And I guess that's just the culture of, like, you know, Japanese lifestyle or work style, you know? Let's see. He learned how to draw at 17 years old. He already knows the ending to One Piece. As soon as he started, he knew the ending.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta.
That's crazy. I don't know how the fuck you could. Like, how do you know?
I mean, from what I understand, from what a lot of creators say, that's kind of how it's done.
Like,
it's
you already know
that, like, you have your beginning and your ending, and then the middle is where you figure it out. I mean, I have, like, for my golden egg story, I have my beginning and my end. I don't have my middle though. So it's just, I don't know, for creators, it's just, that's how it works, I guess. It's like,
it makes sense though, because you can't create the middle without having both sides, because that's what kind of makes it valid, right?
Yeah, it's just like the middle is what creates the bridge. So it's like the beginning, especially for comics and manga, is supposed to capture you and like pull you in, and then the ending is supposed to really end in a big bombastic way and whatever, and then you just need the middle to just gap that bridge.
That's what they say.
Or bridge that gap.
in anime and manga, they say that the first books are the most important, and the first episodes are the most important for the anime. I'm sure with most content, that's what the case is. But 5 years ago from today, the 81st book has been out. So now we have 100. But he says that he approximates that at least 70% of the story is already done.
Okay.
So One Piece is coming to an end, you know, for who said, who knows? It's been out for 24 years, this comic book, a manga. Like you said, and like he says, the ending scene has never changed, regardless of the story's long development. He regards movies, like in general, like the movie from One Piece and in general. His quote is, "Movie is a continuous miracle." And in the beginning of writing the series, he would finish 2 to 3 books at once, which is crazy.
I wonder how he feels about the Netflix adaptation.
He spoke about it actually, and he said with those that are writing it, he says it all comes down to how it's directed. And he said if those that love the anime and love my work are making it, he says I'm okay with however they depict it as long as they include the key elements of the story that drive it all together. So I thought that was very I don't want to say humble, but just open of him to let other people touch his work and put it out there, and those people are just doing their own thing.
I mean, did he see Cowboy Bebop?
Yeah, bro, don't even talk to me about that shit.
My God, I don't know if I can trust Netflix.
Me neither. But the show's been out forever. Like there's like countless movies now. I think there's like 1,000 episodes now too of the anime. But
sounds about right.
For like a live version of it, they did Cowboy Bebop so terribly. I remember I watched it with Beatrice. We watched the first like 20 minutes, and I kept watching. It was one of the first times I've ever watched something because it was so bad. And then I went on like not Netflix, like the internet, and I looked up reviews, and some people were praising the guy who played the main guy, the Asian guy,
like the main guy.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting his name.
Yeah, but they were like, aside his incredible acting, everybody else kind of did bad. I was like, bro, none of this shit was good. This is all terrible. Like from the beginning to the end. I thought the sidekick of his was better, honestly speaking, but it was done terribly. It was a shame to watch that because the anime is so much better.
The anime is so good,
so good. It's so funny to bring that up. Yeah, fuck that show. Let's see. Okay, so he says when they asked him, what does One Piece mean to you? Every time I write Oda, it says soda. He says, to me, it's a story that can be accepted for me when I was a child. When it comes to creation of a story, I think it must be something that is acceptable for everyone until the end. Let's see. And this is interesting. I don't know. How would you agree with this? He says that he is able to think of plots and scenes when he is tired. When he is sleep and food deprived, he said, that's the only way that I know, because humans can only come up with truly new ideas when they reach their limit. So every time I'm done my manuscript, I'm completely exhausted. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I think that might just be him.
That might be him. That might be just the Japanese in him.
That too. I don't know. I mean, there is that idea of like pain brings the best art. Yeah. So I don't know, like whatever gets your art out, like whatever works for you. There's no right way to be a writer.
That's true. Or just to come up with any ideas. I was talking to Beatrice about Eminem this morning, right? Because I just be going on rants about fucking random shit. And just like the music he put, I mean, I love his old stuff, and they censor a lot of his music nowadays. But I told her, I was like, one of the reasons he came up with all this, because I mean, he had a rough childhood, but also just he was a big alcohol and drug consumer. Like he was just in the rut in a lot of areas, and then it just so happens to be a trend for a lot of creators that those who have come out of rough circumstances, not that it's a requirement, but it usually leads to this like ultimate version of themselves, like prevailing in what in the world they were never supposed to bloom in. So like Jay-Z or some shit, or all these people that were like they were told you'll never be that. So I don't think necessarily that's the case, but I think maybe that may be a way to channel that in a certain manner. Even though you're right, it depends on who you are. Really, it could be unhealthy to do that. Whatever floats your boat, though.
Whatever works for you, man. All
right, this is the last couple of things I'll say, just because I just pulled out some questions and answers from the written interviews. And look, digital manga, like Weekly Shonen Jump Alpha, which is the comic book the thing we talked about, is starting to take off in America. What are your thoughts on digital manga, digital comic books? He says, I think digital is cool for manga as long as it doesn't interfere with the way it's intended to be enjoyed by the readers, because the flow of panels and the use of spread images in One Piece is unique compared to the traditional manga. So, like, I mean, to me, I would never know how important the panel works is without reading the previous stuff we read, because I think the most simple one we've read is Mr. Miracle in terms of, like you said, organization of panels. but everything else is pretty much like its own form of way.
I mean, I will say for the digital version that I read, the spreads like would just open up as like one page.
Okay.
So
there was no split down, right?
Yeah. So like they were always fine every time that I was on a spread or something. So
Gotcha.
Digitally, I was good.
Nice. He says about again, he says like when he draws manga, he only thinks about himself as a 15-year-old, and no matter what, I like that he says this. He says, I have no idea how other people would feel, so I turn back to the 15-year-old me to make a judgment on what is awesome or not when creating the books. So again, he just has this real like inner kid in himself to create stuff for his inner kid self, you know? And then he says this, which I've told you before. He says, do you have any last comments for the U.S. fans that enjoy the series via, you know, the Alpha, the comic, the weekly thing that releases? He says, when you're reading One Piece, you might come across weird scenes that only Japanese readers can understand. But please bear with me, because I am only trying to create a world that can be enjoyed by people everywhere. And the last one, the last one, I know there's a whole bunch of reading. They ask him, is there a secret which no one around knows? And his answer is the secret of the naming of the title One Piece. That's it, man.
No one knows why it's called One Piece?
It's a secret he'll never tell, apparently.
Damn.
Yeah, man.
Makes me want to know even more.
And yeah, I mean, I really appreciated like just getting into this manga, man. I've wanted to for a long time, and this is the perfect way to bring it about.
Same.
Yeah, man. And it's super fun to read. Like, I'm going to read the 4th and the 5th one. I'm probably going to blow guap on buying the rest of the books. And I was going to buy like the insert where they have 3-in-1.
They have like these massive box sets that
those
look like the treasure chests.
Yeah.
I'm curious how expensive those are.
I saw one that's like volumes 1 to 20. It's about $300. Yeah, because it comes or like maybe 1 to 34 or something like that. It's expensive. But for me, the reason I'm buying them individually, the set would be dope, right? Maybe to get like one day. I just can't resist the covers. Like the covers are so dope, man. And I'm gonna have a whole section in my house where I just stack them up and everything, and just watch my money go to waste. The fucking thing. But they're awesome to have, and Amazon ships them quick.
Anyone else can do it too.
Yeah, now they lead you to some other buyers and everything too. But nah, man, props to this book, and I'm happy you enjoyed it, man. Because again, it's a different route we take from this and that. Like I know there's a lot of other comic books I want to do, but this is a really fun read, man. And
yeah, it was. I enjoyed it a good amount. I definitely enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
Nice.
Just because I had no idea. Like I had no idea what to expect, really.
Yeah, man.
And it really caught me by surprise.
Awesome. But yeah, man.
Yeah, you got any final words, Frankie?
Yo, to Larry Nassar and what's his name? J. Duggar. What's his name? Josh.
Who gives a shit? Fuck those guys,
right? Pick up a comic book whenever you can. Them shits are fun as fuck.
Yeah, it also means you got a big dick.
Earth, Mind, Matter. We got big dicks.
but what did we do today, Frankie?
Today we spoke about what's happening on the Earth.
In our minds.
And why it matters. This was
Earth, Mind, and Matter.
Good morning, good evening, good night.
Peace out.
Nice.